Yvonne. A flicker of genuine surprise crossed Cole's face, which he quickly masked with a welcoming grin. He added, "Happy New Year. Get in here." As the boss, when your most capable lieutenant drives hundreds of miles to pay you a holiday visit, you roll out the red carpet. "Happy New Year, Yvonne," Jasmine said, rising with a smile to greet her. "Happy New Year." Serena and Luna stood up too, their smiles warm and genuine. All three of them were gracious and knew their manners. Whether for business or personal reasons, a warm welcome was required. For business, Yvonne's contributions had been immense. Personally, she was a decent person, and she'd come all this way to visit. The three of them were not oblivious to the fact that Yvonne had a thing for Cole. Even if it hadn't been obvious before, her showing up like this was a clear signal. But then a lot of girls had a thing for Cole. It was almost always for his looks, his money, and his status. And in that calculus, money and status almost always won out over looks. For now, they weren't sure what Yvonne was after. As long as Cole kept his head on straight, they were content. "Mr. and Mrs. Shun, Happy New Year," Yvonne said, turning to Cole's parents and giving a respectful nod. Her heart was pounding. Happy New Year. Come in, come in." Helen Shun waved her inside eagerly. She'd overheard that this was her son's subordinate, likely a high-ranking one with whom he was close. The fact that she was also friendly with Jasmine was a relief. Helen decided not to overthink it. Maybe the girl really had just come all this way to pay her respects for the holiday. Cole took the bags of gifts from Yvonne's hands. "You shouldn't have, really," he said, while deliberately peeking inside to see what she'd brought. "Cole, where are your manners?" Helen lightly swatted her son's arm. She took Yvonne's arm. "Come, sit down." "Thank you, Mrs. Chun," Yvonne said with a bashful smile. "Yvonne, sit here." Jasmine scooted over on the sofa, patting the spot next to her. "Thanks, Ms. Young." As Yvonne sat down, she finally felt some of her anxiety begin to recede. She had taken a quick look around the apartment. She hadn't expected Cole's family home to be so modest. Clearly, his parents weren't the type to flaunt their son's newfound wealth. She filed that important detail away. "It's New Year's. What's with the Ms. Young?" Jasmine smiled. "We're not at the office. Just call me Jasmine. Otherwise, I'll have to start calling you Ms. Won't." "Oh, please don't call me that." Yvonne laughed, the last of her tension melting away. "If you do, I'll just have to turn around and leave." Just then, Helen brought over a cup of hot tea. "Here you go, Yvonne." "Oh my goodness." Yvonne shot to her feet, accepting the cup with both hands as if she were receiving a sacred object. "Thank you so much, Mrs. Chun. Don't be so formal. You all chat." "Jasmine, you take care of everyone," Helen said with a motherly smile. She didn't even mention her son. By singling out Jasmine, she subtly underscored the difference in status between her son's girlfriend and his goddaughter. "I will, Godmom." Jasmine's heart warmed. She understood the gesture. With that, Helen felt she could relax, grabbing her husband and heading downstairs for a game of cards with the neighbors. Luna asked with concern, "Yvonne, was the drive okay?" They all knew Yvonne's family was in Philadelphia, nearly 600 miles away. "It was fine, just a little tiring driving alone," Yvonne said, warming her hands on the hot tea. "But watching the scenery change, it didn't feel so bad." "You're so brave." "I don't even know how to drive," Serena said, her eyes full of admiration, but not envy. She had no interest in driving. "Huh, I didn't really have a choice. I had to drive back to keep up appearances for my family," Yvonne answered bluntly. She seized the opportunity to change the subject. "You have no idea how much they care about that stuff where I'm from." The four of them started chatting, leaving Cole to his own devices on the other side of the room. Yvonne's mood steadily improved. By the second day of the holiday, she'd already grown tired of being home. A constant stream of visitors, and yesterday, on the 3rd, even the mayor's son had shown up. He'd been a classmate in middle school, but the sight of him just annoyed her. So, she'd used the excuse of an urgent work matter, packed her bags, and hit the road. Whether she was running away from the endless visitors or running toward a certain man, she couldn't quite say. All she knew was that her car was pointed toward Linden Creek. The whole drive, she'd been a wreck, terrified of one thing: being rejected by Cole. From what she knew of him, he was warm on the surface but cool underneath. Complicating things, he could also appear ruthless, but was actually deeply caring. It all depended on who you were. He was so domineering, yet Jasmine could yell at him whenever she wanted. It was different for her. She feared he'd really just let her pay her respects and send her on her way. Despite her fear, the courage she'd honed in her marketing career pushed her forward. A round trip of nearly 2,000 miles. She didn't think about whether it was worth it. She just wanted to see him. If Cole was merely polite, she'd sit for a bit and then leave. The moment he opened the door and she saw him, she felt an inexplicable surge of excitement and nerves. But on the surface, she acted as if she were simply there for a holiday visit. When Cole had greeted her with that polite, almost formal, "Yvonne, Happy New Year," her heart had sunk. Normally, he would have teased her, something like, "Well, look what the cat dragged in." But he hadn't. In that moment, a bitter taste filled her mouth. She had resolved to stay for a few minutes and then drive back to her dorm at Eastwood to wait out the rest of the break alone. But then, Cole's next move, his deliberate, playful peek at her gifts, had relaxed the knot in her chest. That was the Cole she liked. That was him treating her like one of his own. The four women's conversation drifted from the customs of Philadelphia to funny stories about old-fashioned outhouses, and they burst into laughter. Cole pretended to be looking at his phone, but he was secretly watching their expressions, especially his three babies. He was worried they might be upset. Yvonne's arrival was both a surprise and, in a way, completely expected. This was her personality. She was measured but also incredibly bold. So, she came. It was fine. As his pioneering general, she had earned that right. He knew what she was thinking, of course. But after being constantly nourished by three different personalities, his resistance had grown. When it came to pure physical attraction, he was practically immune. He valued Yvonne more for her professional capabilities. She seemed carefree, but she was meticulous, and she was easy to be around. And sometimes, the way she dressed. It was definitely sexy, in its own interesting way. If he were still his naive former self, he would have been smitten. But now his mind was as complex as a rainbow, full of 7 brilliant colors, and a hidden, unseen black. He had to think more comprehensively. Yvonne was bold and ambitious. She needed to be managed. She needed to be guided into a habit of obedience. Otherwise, she could easily lose control, hurting herself and others. If Yvonne ever lost control, if her greed flared up, she would inevitably clash with his 3 girls. Cole's internal defense mechanism was programmed to prioritize protecting his 3 babies from any harm. It might not happen, but it was better to avoid the possibility. A happy, peaceful life was his ultimate goal. He needed to know what Yvonne wanted, or rather, if she herself even knew what she wanted. That was the most important thing. If it was status and money she wanted, that was simple. He could give her that. If she wanted to follow him, to become one of his confidants, and could overlook status and money, he could give her that, too. In fact, he had to. To build Headline Today into a mountain, a loyal head of business development was essential. It would drastically reduce his workload and allow the company to grow faster, protecting him and those he loved. But if she wanted both, then he was sorry. He would choose the first option, just money and status. He was touched that Yvonne had driven all this way to visit him. But when it came to making decisions, he still operated from a place of logic and self-interest. It wasn't the same as with his 3 babies. The irony was life was just that complicated. If Headline Today failed, his 3 girls would still be by his side to start over from scratch. But without Headline Today, his ability to protect them would be diminished. A quiet life would become a fantasy. For the sake of that beautiful life, he had to keep Headline Today growing. There was no retreat, no what-ifs. So, with Yvonne, he had to be careful. He couldn't hurt her feelings, but he couldn't let her lose her way either. It was a delicate operation. The 4 women were now talking about the company, and Cole chimed in occasionally. The atmosphere was harmonious. The heat was on, and Yvonne took off her long down jacket. But there was no room for it on the sofa, so she held in her lap. Jasmine immediately took command. "Cole, take her coat to the bedroom." On it, Cole got up, took the jacket from Yvonne, and put it in his room, where the other 3 girls' coats already were. "Thanks, boss," Yvonne said with a happy smile, feeling a surge of gratitude toward Jasmine. The First Lady was the First Lady, after all. The 4 women were all wearing cashmere sweaters of varying lengths and colors. The mid-length styles covered their rears, making it easy to take off their jackets without it being awkward. 3 of the sweaters were form-fitting, 1 was loose, and all had high necks, wrapping their upper bodies in a way that showcased their figures. The loose one was the most impressive. They all wore thick, black leggings, a perfect match for the day. 4 pairs of long, beautiful legs were arranged in different poses. Jasmine and Luna sat with their legs neatly together, elegantly angled to one side. Serena had curled her feet up onto the sofa, hugging her knees. Yvonne had one leg crossed over the other, leaning slightly. The air was filled with a faint mix of different perfumes. The 4 curvaceous women made the small living room feel palpably warmer. Cole managed to act proper for a while, but he couldn't keep it up. His thieving eyes darted back and forth, lingering especially on Jasmine. It was impossible to ignore her. She was always the first thing you noticed. Her back was perfectly straight with a prominent curve at her waist, her legs flawlessly toned without an ounce of excess. Her delicate, glowing face always wore a soft, measured smile. Her elegant, older sister vibe was like the sun. Even after being intimate with her so many times, the sight of her still made his mouth go dry, because only he knew the wild passion that lay beneath her graceful exterior. It wasn't that Serena and Luna weren't captivating. Luna was a mix of shyness and boldness, blushing one moment and clumsily trying to fulfill his fantasies the next. Serena was a cute little lamb who would use her charm to ask surprisingly curious and brave questions. There was still so much to explore. With his 3 babies, he never got bored. He could never get enough of looking at them. As for Yvonne, she was a complete unknown. Cole didn't dare stare at her for too long, but in the quick glance he stole, he had to admit, her legs were nice too. His 3 babies were highly perceptive. Staring was dangerous. At that moment, Jasmine was in a very good mood. She noticed her little brother's gaze. In the end, I'm still the one who attracted him most. This tiny, hollow victory was deeply satisfying. It smoothed over some of her inner discontent. Speaking of which, they hadn't had a chance to. Since the holidays started, maybe tonight, she should comfort him. He was getting all pent up. Jasmine glanced at Yvonne and had an idea. As evening approached, Cole's parents returned to make dinner. They had originally planned to eat at the Yang's house and leave the apartment to the young people. But with 2 new girls visiting, they felt they had to cook at home, lest they give the impression they were avoiding them. That could only happen once they were all more familiar. But when they started to cook, they were quickly pushed aside. The 4 women took over the kitchen. Even though Serena was only good for fetching things, she was happy just to be part of it. Cole, the great lord, leaned back on the sofa, contentedly watching some mindless TV show. Normally, his mother would never stand for such laziness, but now she just kept quiet. He was a CEO now. She couldn't let him lose face in front of the girls. Once the food was ready, the whole family sat down. Cole was in charge of dishing out the rice. Jasmine's parents had a minor shareholder visiting, so they didn't come over, which probably saved the dinner from being a little awkward. The food was only mildly spicy, a concession to Yvonne's palate in case she couldn't handle their usual heat. At the table, Helen Chun was the busiest person. She kept putting food on everyone's plates, for the sweet and lovely Serena, for the newcomer Yvonne. She also had to take care of her goddaughter and the gentle Luna. Thank you, Mrs. Chun. Thank you, Mrs. Chun. Thank you. Godmom, eat. We can serve ourselves, Jasmine said, putting some food on Helen's plate in return. She had another identity that gave her the right to do so without it seeming strange. The other 2 girls and Yvonne just ate quietly. Yvonne was usually quite talkative, but she reined it in. In front of the 3 goddesses, she couldn't suck up to Cole's mom. It would look like she was vying for favor. This was where Cole needed to step in and liven things up. Let's have a glass of orange juice to celebrate the new year. He grabbed a bottle of juice and some disposable cups, pouring one for each of the 4 girls and his mother. All right, raise your glasses. The 4 girls lifted their cups with beaming smiles. Helen happily joined in. Cole's father, sipping his own little glass of liquor, grinned and raised his glass too. Everyone looked at Cole. To a new year and a new beginning. Happy New Year. Cheers. Happy New Year. Cheers, they all said in unison. After the first glass, Cole poured more for his mother and himself. He raised his cup again. To Mom and Dad's health and happiness. He did this on purpose. If he knew Jasmine, she would lead the girls in doing the same, which would help Serena and Yvonne relax even more. Thank you, son. I wish you all the best, too, Helen said, her words carrying a double meaning. Cole, your father wishes you wealth and peace. Sure enough, the girls were eager to follow. Jasmine took the lead, pouring more orange juice. Serena quickly held out her cup. Pour me some too, Jasmine. Luna and Yvonne held out their cups as well, finishing the bottle. To a healthy new year for Godmom and Godfather, Jasmine said, raising her cup. To a happy new year from Mr. and Mrs. Chun. To Mr. and Mrs. Chun. The girls' blessings made Cole's parents roar with laughter. The conversation opened up, and the rest of the meal was filled with warmth and cheer. They ate until 7:30, by which time it was already dark. Yvonne stood up, stretched her arms, and clapped her hands together in front of her. She put on a carefree air. All right, I've paid my respects. I've had my meal. I'm off. At that moment, Yvonne's heart was wound as tight as a drum. Of course, she didn't want to go. She didn't want to walk out alone into the night, to drive back to Rockford by herself. Just the thought of it made her feel a pang of loneliness and sorrow. She was terrified that Cole would just say, "Okay, drive safe." Knowing his personality, that was a real possibility. Or he might be politely detached. "It's dark out. You should get a hotel room and leave in the morning." Neither of those was what she wanted. She guessed the three goddesses would ask her to stay. That was helpful, but also not. Only Cole's invitation to stay would truly matter. Only then could she remain without feeling like she was begging. Yvonne's heart was pounding, but her face wore a relaxed smile, as if she were all ready to leave. In her mind, time was crawling by in microseconds. The brief moment she waited for Cole to speak felt like an eternity of torment. She could even see the subtle movement of his lips as he prepared to talk. In that instant, her whole body tensed. All the sounds in the room faded away. She was just waiting for those words, not knowing what they would be. In her field of vision, Cole's face twisted into an expression of exaggerated displeasure. "Whoa, you're just gonna eat and run? In your dreams. We're playing cards tonight. I'm still waiting to win some money off you." The words, though framed as a complaint, were like heavenly music to Yvonne's ears. A clear spring seemed to well up inside her, and happiness spread through her body. Her heart was trembling, but her face showed a look of mock helplessness. "You still want to play cards? You're so cheap, trying to win back the money you paid me. You know it. This is my one chance to claw some of it back." Cole chuckled, utterly shameless. Serena let out a cheer. "I want to play too. I've never played cards before." "Haha, perfect. I'm going to take all your money." "Ha ha ha." Cole roared with laughter. "No, don't. You can't win too much. I don't know how to play." Serena, momentarily forgetting to control herself in her excitement, whined playfully. Cole's parents exchanged a glance, their eyes wide. If they didn't know she was an adult, they would have thought she was a little girl. They could only maintain a placid expression and pretend they hadn't heard anything. Jasmine and Luna weren't too surprised. They'd heard it before. It was just that this time, the sweetness level was much higher than usual. Yvonne's understanding of Cole deepened. If Serena was like this in front of everyone, she couldn't imagine what she was like with him in private. To withstand this level of sweet-talking, Cole's willpower had to be made of solid rock. Yvonne's mood was like a spring garden in full bloom, but she put on a defiant face. "We'll see who has the last laugh. Game on." "All right, let's play cards then," Jasmine said. It had been a while since she'd played, and her hands are getting itchy. They cleared the table and laid down a felt mat. Cole's parents volunteered for dish duty, letting the young people have their fun. "But how could 5 people play?" "You play, brother." "I don't know how," Luna said thoughtfully. "How about this?" Cole said, smiling as he pulled Luna into a seat. "You sit, and I'll teach you. I could just watch and advise." Playing wasn't the important part. Getting the girls to sit down and have fun was the real goal, and to put the calculating Yvonne at ease. He knew exactly what she was thinking. Of course, he wasn't going to let her leave. Not at night. Not ever. If she was leaving, it would be when they all left together. She'd come all this way just to have dinner and go. He couldn't bear the thought of it. "Cole, you have to teach me too." "I'll sit here," Serena said, taking the seat to Luna's left. "Okay, I'll teach both of you. We'll split the winnings." Okay, brother." Jasmine glanced at her little brother, a sour feeling creeping into her heart again. He always used to sit next to her. Oof, not tonight. The clatter of shuffling cards filled the room. "Cole, which card should I play?" "Get rid of the 8. It's useless." "Here." "Brother, should I keep this 3? "Keep it." "Ditch the 6. "That way." "Cole, what do I do now?" "You have a set. Draw from the end of the wall." "Brother, did I win?" "Huh, you drew it yourself." With Cole, the pseudo-master, as their teacher, Serena and Luna got the hang of the rules after a few rounds. The game was lively, but the scales of victory still tipped toward Jasmine and Yvonne. The weight in Yvonne's heart was gone, and she played with a constant, smug smile. Cole's skills were terrible, and the rookies he taught were no better. It was impossible not to win, and she didn't have to hold back. Cole had plenty of money. Jasmine didn't show any mercy either. It was his fault for not sitting next to her. The card table was buzzing with a great atmosphere. Cole's luck, however, was abysmal. His win rate as a coach was pathetically low. Whichever girl he coached, she wouldn't win. Around 9, Cole's parents announced they were heading over to the Yang's house, leaving the place to the young people. The game finally ended at 11:30. They weren't playing for high stakes. Serena and Luna each lost about $300. But even though they lost, they were thrilled. They had finally learned how to play. When it came time to figure out sleeping arrangements, things got a little strange. Serena was the first to speak up. "I'll sleep with Yvonne." "No, I'll sleep with Yvonne, Jasmine said coolly. I could sleep with Yvonne, too, Luna mumbled, peeking at Cole. It's fine. Jasmine, you and Luna have been sleeping together for days. You're used to it, Serena said, blinking her innocent, wide eyes, being very considerate. I should sleep with Yvonne. I have some HR matters to discuss with her, Jasmine said with a gentle but firm smile. Yvonne was a little baffled. Why were they all fighting over her? She couldn't figure it out. She just said, I need to get some clothes for my car. I have to take a shower. Give me the keys. I'll go, Cole said, holding out his hand. If he let her go, she'd definitely just grab what she needed for the night. She'd be too embarrassed to wheel her suitcase in. It was better if he did it, to put her at ease. Okay. Yvonne handed over the keys. Her heart felt warm. She knew Cole would bring her whole suitcase up. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said that. No wonder the three goddesses were so deeply in love with him. So thoughtful, so emotionally stable. It was hard for a woman not to like him. In the end, Jasmine won the right to sleep with Yvonne, using her perfectly valid reason. After everyone had showered, Jasmine and Yvonne took Cole's parents' room. Serena and Luna took Cole's room. As for Cole, he was back on the sofa. He stayed up until almost 1 o'clock, but no bedroom door opened. Cole felt a pang of disappointment. In the end, what he thought would happen was just what he thought. There were no brave souls tonight. He drifted off to sleep with a sense of disappointment. Just as he was deep in a hazy slumber, he suddenly felt a soft body slide into the covers with him. Half asleep, Cole knew who it was just from the scent. Jasmine. Almost instinctively, they started kissing. Her clean, fresh scent filled his mouth. The entire encounter was silent. There on the wooden sofa, cushioned by a thick comforter. It was a narrow space, but it didn't hinder Jasmine's performance. Only she could do it. Keep her upper body perfectly still while deftly providing him with continuous comfort. A long time later, a sharp pain shot through Cole's shoulder, accompanied by Jasmine's slightly ragged breathing. A moment later, he heard her whisper a puff of warm air into his ear. My period's coming in a day or two. Cole understood perfectly. He pulled her tighter, and they held each other close, as if trying to merge into one. The cold winter night was so dark. The heat had been turned off long ago, but the air felt hotter than ever. In the master bedroom, Yvonne lay with her eyes open. She had never fallen asleep. She knew exactly where Jasmine had gone, and she finally understood why everyone had been fighting to sleep with her. There was no jealousy in her heart, only a kind of envy. She loved this sense of harmony. When Jasmine didn't return for a long time, Yvonne turned on her side, bending one leg. It was a more comfortable way to sleep. Her mind began to wander, and she slowly drifted into a dream. In the living room, Jasmine was up later than she'd ever been. She thought about going back to the bedroom, but she'd forgotten to do one thing. She whispered in Cole's ear, Cole, I forgot to get a tissue. It's fine, just wipe it on my stomach later, Cole said with a wicked grin. Jasmine almost laughed out loud, biting his shoulder instead. You devil. Actually, sleeping here was nice, with him as a mattress. But she was afraid of crushing him, so she whispered in his ear, Am I heavy? Not all. It's comfortable, Cole said, gently stroking her back. Cole. Jasmine murmured his name and then fell silent. There were so many things she wanted to say but couldn't. She could only keep them locked in her heart. The desire to have him all to herself sometimes tormented her even in her dreams. No woman was generous in this regard. She was no different. She had doted on her little brother for so long, only to have to share him. Every time she thought about it, her heart ached. But reality reminded her that suppressing it was worse than letting it flow. For the sake of his grand ambitions, a small sacrifice was inevitable. Jasmine. Jasmine, you're my everything. Cole's lips were pressed against her ear. No one knew her better than he did. He could feel her emotions. You have plenty of everythings, she huffed, her voice tinged with dissatisfaction. A smile touched Cole's lips. He was prepared for that line. You're the most important part of my life. Without you, I couldn't survive. This was the truth. He knew from experience how important she was. She was the guiding light for his soul. Nonsense. Jasmine feigned anger, lightly tapping his lips. She knew he was just trying to make her happy, but it worked. The tolerance she showed. Wasn't it all for him? As long as he cared about her, as long as their life together was always like it was when they first met, this life would not have been lived in vain. Jasmine. Cole held her tighter, greedily inhaling the scent of her neck. The word love didn't need to be spoken. She knew. Sometimes Cole felt shameless, but he would immediately banish that demonic thought. Life didn't have to follow a template. Following a template didn't guarantee it would turn out well anyway. The three different flavors in his life balanced his desires, preventing him from falling into a pink trap. He knew everything his Jasmine had given up. True love wasn't expressed in words, but it was like a warm bubble, constantly soothing his somewhat blackened heart. Sensing the change in him, Jasmine gave him a kiss and began to comfort him again. In the pitch-black night, the comforter trembled silently. Suddenly, a sound came from Cole's bedroom. It seemed to be Serena talking to Luna. Jasmine froze. The sound of cotton slippers shuffling across the floor followed. The door opened. The living room light wasn't turned on, obviously to avoid waking Cole. Someone was fumbling their way to the bathroom. They didn't even turn on the bathroom light. Hearing the cheerful little pitter-patter of feet, Cole knew it was Serena. Jasmine didn't dare move, hiding her head under the covers. She hoped to wait until the person went back to their room before continuing. In the darkness, they probably wouldn't be discovered. A moment later, the person came out of the bathroom. From the sound of it, they were fumbling their way back to the bedroom. Cole and Jasmine breathed a sigh of relief. But in the next second, the footsteps stopped. They turned and started moving toward the sofa. Jasmine's heart tightened. She tried to shrink down, but she was stuck. She could only turn slightly, trying to hide in the corner between Cole and the back of the sofa. Cole was nervous too. If they were discovered, it would be so awkward. Serena would probably be upset. Some things could be known but not exposed. It would be a loss of face. Serena's sweet, milky-scented lips drew close. She breathed out. "Cole, are you asleep?" Cole smacked his lips, pretending to be sound asleep, trying to get away with it. But then, Serena's hand started reaching under the covers, about to slip inside. In a panic, Cole couldn't pretend anymore. He had to wake up. He feigned a groggy state. Baby." He instinctively wrapped his arms around her, trapping her arm. Then he feigned surprise. "Hey, you're only in your pajamas. Go back to bed, or you'll catch a cold." No. Serena whined. Under the covers, the hidden Jasmine was terrified. Thankfully, the sofa was only so big, and the thick comforter piled up on the inside provided excellent cover. "Be good. Go back to bed. If you get sick, you can't go to the party tomorrow," Cole the Shameless coaxed her. They had plans to have dinner with Phoebe and another friend tomorrow. Okay. Serena was still reluctant, but she thought about it. It was getting late. If she didn't sleep well, she'd be tired tomorrow. "I want a kiss," she said. "Okay, baby gets a kiss." Cole gently stroked her soft, loose hair. Serena's lips had already found his. Their mouths tangled together in the dark night. Cole was both blissful and in agony, as a hand on his waist pinched him viciously, twisting a large chunk of flesh. After a full minute of kissing, Cole finally pulled away. He coaxed her again. "Be good. Go back to bed now." Okay. Serena finally agreed. She got up and felt her way back to the room in the dark. A moment later, the sound of the door closing came. Only then did Cole relax. The hand on his waist was still squeezing hard. It released one spot only to find another. The pain was excruciatingly satisfying. After a while, the pinching stopped, but so did all movement. She was clearly angry. "Jasmine," Cole whispered. "I'm going back to bed." Jasmine was not happy. "Baby? And kissing for so long. Knowing something and seeing it were two different things. So annoying. So upsetting. She propped herself up on the sofa to get up. Cole quickly held her down. "Go hug your baby. I'm going back to bed." Jasmine fell back down, unable to move. Even though she was angry, she still whispered close to his ear. "Jasmine, just sleep here," Cole said, not letting go. "No, I'm not sleeping with you." Jasmine's stubbornness flared up. She pushed herself up again, only to be pulled back down. Annoyed, Jasmine bit down hard on his shoulder. Cole was used to being bitten and ignored the pain. If he didn't soothe her now, she would likely be angry all night and into the next morning. Women were like that. Emotions needed to be released immediately, not bottled up. The longer they were bottled, the higher the cost of appeasement. Of course, this varied from person to person. It was only because she loved him that he could get away with this. "Jasmine, Jasmine, Jasmine." Cole kept whispering her name by her ear. When she finally let go, he moved in and kissed her. Jasmine dodged, Cole pursued. In the small corner, there was nowhere to hide. He caught her in an instant. Jasmine kept her lips sealed, expressing her displeasure. Cole wasn't flustered. He gently massaged the nape of her neck, then forcefully pried her lips open. At that moment, he wasn't gentle at all. He was completely domineering. Jasmine only resisted for a few seconds. The tight hug, the dominant possessiveness, combined with the neck massage, brought a comforting sense of security. Her defenses crumbled instantly. From being passive at first, she gradually lost herself in the kiss, becoming an active participant. The anger and dissatisfaction in her heart melted away again. There was nothing that pleased her more than her little brother's possessiveness. The howling winter wind outside masked the small sounds coming from inside the comforter. She had come around 2 in the morning and left close to 6. The siblings had shared many secrets. Despite the small interruption, their bond had only deepened. When Yvonne woke up, she found Jasmine lying peacefully beside her, as if she had never left. Except, her scent seemed to be mixed with something else. A strange smell, one she had smelled before in Cole's office. And another scent that only a woman would understand, because she had smelled it on herself after waking up in the middle of the night. Ms. Y'all must be very happy, right? Last night, she had been so nervous, focused only on Cole's attitude. Otherwise, she would have realized sooner why everyone wanted to sleep with her. As someone who had been a secret operative before, Yvonne was determined to maintain confidentiality. She said good morning as if nothing had happened, as if Jasmine had been sleeping beside her all along. At noon, Cole took the 4 girls to meet up with Phoebe and their old classmate, a guy named Dylan. Dylan had done well for himself, bringing a girlfriend home. She was thin and a bit shy, a perfect complement to the slightly chubby and outgoing Dylan. In front of Cole and Serena's classmates, Jasmine, Luna, and Yvonne were all very gracious. They had lunch together and chatted all afternoon. They talked about how things were a bit grim for Tyler's family. They'd been fined $1 million, and they didn't even have the money to pay their back taxes. They'd sold their cars. Now, the former workers from their gravel pit were suing for unpaid wages. Tyler had gone back to school early to hide out. It seemed Phoebe and Dylan didn't know the real reason for the family's downfall. Clearly, Tyler's family hadn't told the whole truth. On the 6th day of the new year, Mr. Chun, you're a man of your word. Mayor Zhang of Linden Creek was ecstatic. Mr. Chen's commitment to his hometown is truly a blessing for Linden Creek, Councilwoman Laura Liu said, her smile stretching from ear to ear. It's a blessing for the people of Linden Creek to have leaders like you two. As a part of this town, how could I not keep my promise? Cole replied humbly, warmly shaking hands with the town's top 2 officials. Ms. Shun, thank you for your hard work, Mayor Zhang said, nodding to Cole's VP of Legal Affairs with a brilliant smile. He wanted to shake her hand, but restrained himself. You're too kind, Mayor Zhang. You and Councilwoman Liu are the ones working hard for Linden Creek. I just reviewed a contract. It was nothing, Serena replied with graceful composure. Councilwoman Liu had fewer reservations, taking Serena's hand in both of hers and shaking it repeatedly. Reviewing the contract was a huge help. No one's even back from the holidays yet. We couldn't find anyone. We're so lucky to have your help, Ms. Shun. Not at all. Not at all, Serena responded adeptly. She understood, of course. They hoped she would casually mention this to her superiors. If there was credit to be given, they wanted their leaders to know. It was perfectly normal. She wouldn't begrudge them this small favor. Cole officially signed a letter of intent with the eager Linden Creek government. The company seal was with his CFO, Luna. The letter specified the land area for the data center, outlined preferential policies for land, utilities, and sewage, and confirmed the minimum investment for Spicy Mamas. These were all things that needed to be clarified up front, a responsibility to both sides. Cole then introduced Jasmine. This is Ms. Yang, Vice President of Human Resources for Headline Today, and also a major shareholder in Spicy Mamas. And she will be in the future as well. Ms. Yang, a pleasure, Councilwoman Liu said, surprised, stepping forward to shake her hand. The moment she heard the name Yang, she understood. It really was old Mr. Yang's daughter. She knew who the major shareholder of Spicy Mamas was. She just hadn't expected the expanded investment to also fall on her. This Cole was truly generous. This is Ms. Yvonne Wang, Vice President of Business Development for Headline Today. She will be your point of contact for the investment moving forward, Cole said, introducing Yvonne. Yvonne smiled and proactively extended her hand. Mayor Zhang, Councilwoman Liu, a pleasure. Ms. Wang, a pleasure. And this is our Vice President of Finance, Ms. Luna. A pleasure, Ms. Mayor, Councilwoman. Mayor Zhang and Councilwoman Liu didn't put on airs. Their faces wreathed in smiles. Inwardly, however, they were marveling. 4 beautiful women, controlling the 4 main powers of Headline Today, all reporting to Cole, the Lion King. It was so wild, so bold. But at his age, that boldness was perfectly fitting. The 2 of them thought of their own children and could only sigh. They were far from being in the same league. Until the 7th day of the new year, Cole didn't have any more late-night snacks. Jasmine was unavailable. Serena and Luna kept a close watch on each other, even going to the bathroom together. In the afternoon, Cole and the three girls said goodbye to his parents and the Yangs and set off for Rockford. Before leaving, he was called back by the Yangs for another lecture. It didn't matter how much money he invested. He couldn't treat Jasmine badly. Serena went home for a bit to say goodbye to her parents, who had just returned, and had another minor squabble with her mother. The two cars drove to Rockford. A female bodyguard had already arrived ahead of them, responsible for driving Yvonne's car back. The Shin family's driver was also there. Cole and the four girls took the high-speed train together, perfectly filling the business class car. At the station, the four girls were a magnet for attention wherever they went. It wasn't until they entered the business class lounge that they were shielded from the stunned and greedy gazes. Cole sighed. Next time, it would be better to drive, or have the security department bring his parents and the Yangs to Rockford. Yvonne sat in a single seat, looking contentedly out the window. The past few days had been fulfilling. Being by this man's side had become a habit. Back in Rockford, she would once again be the woman who appeared most frequently by his side. But at the same time, she was thinking about things. Cole's parents and Jasmine's parents had one thing in common. They didn't seem to care much for luxury. They weren't focused on wealth, but they took their work seriously. And Cole's parents valued Jasmine more than their own son. It was as if Jasmine were their biological daughter. This was evident in their words and actions every day. Cole accepted this as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Even Serena and Luna were content to live ordinary lives, without extravagant meals or imperious attitudes, and without showing off to the neighbors. In this, Yvonne felt she fell short. She had driven home to show off her success, to earn some face for her family. However, she didn't think she was wrong. It was right to earn some face for her parents. In the countryside, face was everything. She was thinking about other things. To integrate into Cole's inner circle, she had to align with that atmosphere. Her original dream was to work hard to change her life, to become a high-level executive at a big company that everyone looked up to, maybe even start her own business. To prove herself to the world. To have tested her way out of a rural high school and into Eastwood, Yvonne was proud. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say she had high standards. She had drive and ambition. That was the main reason she'd chosen a career in marketing and promotions. From the moment she started following this man, her initial view of him as an equal had slowly morphed into appreciation. This man, it seemed, was even more suited for her line of work. He had more drive, more ideas. He was steady when he needed to be, lively when the situation called for it. And when he needed to be shameless, he had absolutely no regard for face. She had witnessed every step of Headline Today's growth and the dynamic between him and the three goddesses. Her appreciation turned into admiration, even a kind of fervor. But this man kept his personal and professional lives separate. So did the three goddesses. Apart from those three, he had no entanglements with any other woman. He kept his distance from all the girls in the company, except for her. That alone spoke volumes about his clarity of mind. Through their interactions over the past few days, Yvonne understood one thing. If she wanted to integrate, she would have to give something up. Ambition, for instance. She wasn't sure if she could suppress her ambition. Since joining Headline Today, countless successful business deals had given her a wealth of experience. This experience made her more confident, but it also made her more infatuated with this man. There was a contradiction there. She knew it well. If she couldn't resolve this contradiction, this man would undoubtedly exclude her from his inner circle. She would gain a lot, but she would lose his ultimate trust, especially from Jasmine. She sensed a kind of favoritism. If Jasmine were in danger, this man, worth hundreds of millions, would without a doubt rush to shield her. He wouldn't hesitate to risk his life. And if Serena or Luna were in danger, he wouldn't hesitate either. He would do everything in his power. That was the difference. It was a bond that wealth couldn't buy. Yvonne was very envious, and she admired this man more and more. He had money, he had passion, he had looks, and he had charm. To have such a man, what more could a woman ask for? Staring at the scenery flying by outside the window, she fell deep in thought. On the 8th day of the new year, everyone at Headline Today was back at work. Spurred on by cash bonuses, their post-holiday blues were instantly cured. A week later, Spencer Chun and Vanessa Fan were sitting in the Headline Today conference room. Cole was the only one with them. Beat drop? This is the behemoth you were talking about. Spencer was playing with the beta version of the app on his phone. It was interesting enough. Swipe up, swipe down. There wasn't much content yet, just some test accounts created by the backend team and a few pieces from invited influencers. The videos were only 8 seconds long. Any longer, and the data storage and network couldn't handle it. The rest were photo slideshows, with strict limits on image size. HD was the maximum resolution. The most unique feature was the creative use of music. The app had a library of clip song hooks. You could pair them with photos or videos and publish directly, without having to search for a BGM. Yes, a supersized behemoth, Cole said with a small smile. Cole, you know I've bet everything on you, Vanessa said. She had barely looked at the app before setting it aside. She trusted Cole, the person. Late last year, she had started consolidating her funds, mortgaging everything she could. She'd even used her 20% stake in Slice Video as collateral to raise $150 million. People in her circle thought something was wrong. Even that person in the Capitol had called to ask. But she had kept her mouth shut. Don't worry, Vanessa. I guarantee you'll win, Cole said with immense solemnity. A woman had made the boldest move of all. How could he let her down when she had tied herself to his ship? The tighter she was tied, the more she could help him. Okay, I'm all in, Vanessa said with a smile, steadying her nerves. Now that the decision was made, there was no point in overthinking it. Spencer, what do you say? Cole asked, smiling at him. Spencer was silent for a long time. Finally, he gritted his teeth, his expression one of a man who was throwing caution to the wind. Vanessa's in, so I'm in. I'll get the funds together within a month. Mr. Chun, you can't let me fall into a pit. It would be a disaster for me. I'll have you soaring so high your friends will all be envious and jealous of you. Cole joked. No, I don't want to soar. A few stories high is good enough for me, Spencer said with a self-deprecating laugh. The three parties officially signed the investment agreement. Vanessa Fan and Spencer Chun would each invest $150 million for a 15% stake. In the past, they would have called such a deal absurd. $150 million for a little toy app. But based on the current valuations of Headline Today and Slice Video, they felt like they were getting a bargain. A new product from Cole couldn't be worse than those two, and the thing did seem pretty fun. Even so, Spencer's hand trembled as he signed. Vanessa, on the other hand, looked completely unbothered. As she put it, if she lost it all, she'd just have Cole support her in her old age. The beta version of Beat Drop was launched quietly. No press conference, no promotion. They just sent out in-app messages inviting some influencers to register. It was available for free download in all the app stores. Almost no one noticed. Cole decided the official launch would be after the dance competition. Organizing a national dance competition was no easy task. It required cooperation with multiple departments, like the Rockford Bureau of Culture and Tourism. That part wasn't hard. Cole had dealt with them before. They also had to partner with the National Dance Council to gain legitimacy. The liaison work was handled by subordinate teams from the business and planning centers. Cole and his VPs no longer had to run around everywhere. But they hit a snag. Mr. Chun, the dance council's position is that they won't be the ones hosting it, Whitney said. Yvonne stood beside her listening. And we just provide the funding? Cole smirked. That's the gist of it, Whitney said, slightly indignant. Cole said calmly, keep negotiating. Tell them it must be hosted by Headline Today. This is our event. They should be grateful we're letting them co-brand. They can forget about anything else. My bottom line is the council can provide 3 judges. Understood, Mr. Chun, Yvonne and Whitney replied in unison. They wouldn't be the ones negotiating. The people below them needed the experience too. Yvonne looked apologetic. The negotiations for the live stream and video rights aren't going very well. Even the state broadcast network isn't showing much interest. This was a task she was personally responsible for, but the lack of progress made her uneasy. It's normal for it not to go well. If it were too easy, I'd think it was a trap. Cole chuckled. We're newcomers in the media world. It's natural to be looked down upon. Those networks are all high and mighty. But the state network knows you, Mr. Chun. I can't believe they wouldn't even give you face. Yvonne really wanted Cole to call Vanessa for help. It's not that they won't give me face. They want to drive the price down, or even get it for free. Cole sneered. He pursed his lips. Business is business. There's no such thing as face. Of course, they probably also look down on the show itself. After all, we're just a new internet company. We've never produced a show before. It's understandable that the network is afraid of losing money. Maybe they think they're doing us a favor by even considering broadcasting our show. So, should we keep trying? Yvonne wasn't sure what he meant. It sounded like he didn't need the networks to buy the rights, but he still wanted her to negotiate. Nope. Once they've rejected us, they'll know the taste of regret. That's how we'll be able to sell our future shows for a good price. Cole waved his hand dismissively. After Beat Drop was launched, the video section of Slice Video would lose some traffic. It would need to pivot to producing shows and short dramas. With the boost from Beat Drop, the market would be strong. You had this all planned out, and you still sent me to butt my head against a wall, Yvonne said, fuming. This man had clearly factored her into his calculations, making her act out a real-life drama. You have to butt your head against the wall. The more real it is, the better, Cole said nonchalantly. Yvonne was so angry she stomped her foot. If Whitney hadn't been there, she would have pounced on him. It took a full month. With the help of the Eastwood Student Activities Board, Vanessa Fan, and others, the dance competition was finally finalized. The invited judges were all nationally renowned. 5 competition zones would be established, with the grand finals held in Rockford. It wasn't just the Dance Council's co-branding. They also had the cooperation of the culture and tourism bureaus in the other host cities. This was a massive event. The costs were enormous. The outside world watched with amusement. Sam Waters, a famous TV producer, posted on his blog. First, let me clarify, I'm not against this, just sharing a thought. Some people lack reverence for television programming. They think they can just casually organize a competition and make a show. If it were that simple, everyone in the country would be a producer. But I also understand. When you become a millionaire at such a young age, it's normal to feel restless. But the market isn't a playground. I hope some people learn a lesson after a spectacular failure. There were many similar posts. None of them mentioned Cole by name, but everyone knew who they were talking about. The internet was full of ridicule. Cole was unfazed. The national dance competition preparations continued as planned. The planning and business centers dispatched 5 teams to the 5 regional zones. The remaining staff were responsible for the Rockford zone. The publicity for the competition was vibrant. Contestants were not limited to students. Professionals could also participate, like those from dance studios. Registration was done on Headline Today, which attracted a large number of new users. The first, second, and third place winners would receive trophies and cash prizes, $25,000, $15,000, and $10,000, respectively. For those who made it to the finals in Rockford, room and board were covered. This amount of money was nothing to the big dance troupes, of course. But Cole's target wasn't them. It was ordinary people. He wanted to expand the influence of the Headline Today ecosystem and prepare for Beat Drop. In a skyscraper in downtown Shanghai, Stratos, capital China, he's surrounded by beautiful women. He's probably got a huge ego. Seducing him won't work, will it? The speaker was Liu Jia, the head of Stratos' China division. He was in his 30s with slick-back hair, a shirt and tie, and a thoroughly westernized air. A tall, thin woman with wavy hair and glasses curled her lip. The more beautiful women he has, the more arrogant he is, the pickier his tastes become. And the pickier he is, the easier he is to trap. You're a man. Don't you know what you people are like? Men are always chasing different flavors of beauty. You can see it from the women around him. Mary, can you not use me as an example? Liu Jia said, looking displeased. This woman, Mary Gao, was the vice president of operations and PR sent over from the parent company. She insisted on being called by her English name. She had high cheekbones and narrow, elongated eyes, giving her a sharp, cruel look. She was cunning and ruthless, a master of psychology and human nature. Though technically half a rank below him, she never showed him any respect. It's just for reference. Why so sensitive? Mary Gao said dismissively. So what's your plan? This guy isn't easy to deal with. There's no way in, Liu Jia said, his face darkening. This bitch completely disregarded him. He was dying to see her fall on her face. I've done a personality profile on him. Mary Gao adjusted her glasses. His bravado is just a disguise. He's calm, smart, and has quick reactions. Liu Jia was surprised and a little contemptuous. Your profile is just a bunch of praise? Mary Gao wagged her index finger. Don't be so hasty. I'm not finished. Those are just things he thinks he is. My translation is proud, conceited, reckless, and with a strong desire for control. And, Liu Jia asked, only someone who sees himself as a hero has these flaws. And a hero can never resist a beauty, Mary Gao said with complete confidence. You have a point, but the problem is, he already has beauties, Liu Jia said dismissively. The more he has, the more he craves novelty. Men are always chasing something new and interesting. He just hasn't encountered it yet. TCH, why are you pretending to be so proper? Mary Gao sneered at him directly. Fine. Tell me your plan. Liu Jia's face was flushed, but he didn't dare lose his temper. This woman's scheming was terrifying. She specialized in setting people up. Mary Gao took out her phone, dialed a number, and then put it back in her purse. A moment later, there was a knock on the office door. Mary Gao said, "Come in." Two women pushed the door open and entered. One was about 17 or 18, the other looked to be in her early 30s. They resembled each other strongly. The younger one was at least 5 feet 3 inches, the older one at least 5 feet 6 inches, both with slender figures. The older one, in particular, was perfectly proportioned, exuding a mature charm. She was beautiful and elegant, looking like a widow who had been celibate for a long time. The younger one was cute and soft, very girlish, but well-developed where it counted. "Ms. Gao," the two women said in unison. One voice was like a young girl's, the other was magnetic and mature. The height and age difference, when they were together, created a strangely alluring effect. Mary Gao nodded faintly, not offering them a seat. Instead, she looked at the transfixed Liu Jia with disdain. "See? Are men not always chasing novelty? This pair, are they interesting enough? Mr. Jia, you have a point. And these two are." Liu Jia was startled back to reality, smiling awkwardly. "My personal Korean-American enforcers. They can sing and dance, are highly educated, fluent in Mandarin, and have first-class communication skills and emotional intelligence," Mary Gao said, her narrow eyes squinting. "This mission is for them. They will participate in his dance competition. However, their salary and bonuses are not cheap. It will be counted as a company operational cost." "Teach, that's fine. I mean," Liu Jia was stammering. "Don't even think about it. Your annual salary is barely enough to support your own women," Mary Gao sneered. "Headquarters is already dissatisfied with you. You should be thinking about how to fix that." Liu Jia's face turned ashen. He instantly fell silent. Mary Gao ignored him, turning to the two women. "Have you memorized the target's file?" "We have," they said together. "Tell me the plan." "We are a mother and daughter," the older woman began, reporting her plan seriously. "Her father passed away, and we make a living by running a dance studio. But we're constantly being harassed, and the studio is facing a financial crisis, so we're entering the dance competition. We will do whatever it takes to win first place. We will get acquainted with the target, but not deliberately arouse his sympathy. We will always maintain a state of alert, creating an impression of being weak but strong. After we are bullied, we will have to stay in Rockford. Either I or she will apply for a job at the target's company. We will never be proactive, not until the target asks us first." "Good. I will send another team to coordinate." Mary Gao nodded, her face expressionless. She looked back at Liu Jia. "See? Beauty and beauty are not the same. You're only fit to threaten receptionists. Fine, you're the boss. But I want to know how they're going to get first place," Liu Jia said, changing the subject, not believing the two women could pull it off. "With several competition zones, there are bound to be masters. You can't just declare yourself the winner. No wonder headquarters suspects you. When the judges are the ones who decide, is getting first place that hard?" Mary Gao's contempt for him grew. She waved a hand at the two women. "Go and prepare." "Yes, ma'am." The striking mother-daughter duo walked out. The sight of their alluring figures, combined with the strange thoughts in his head, made Liu Jia practically drool. Seeing Liu Jia's pathetic state, the contempt in Mary Gao's eyes deepened. Her tone became even more arrogant. "Such a young company, and you failed to close the deal after multiple attempts. Don't you understand why?" "Why?" Liu Jia looked genuinely confused. "You've lost your edge. You're addicted to comfort. Or maybe you do know, you're just unwilling to change. Ugh, men, you're all the same." Mary Gao shook her head, sighing as she walked out, completely ignoring the division head. Once she was gone, the frustrated look on Liu Jia's face vanished. A smirk curled his lips, and he let out a soft chuckle. "Self-righteous fool. Go on, walk right into it." Back in Rockford, Cole was monitoring the progress of the dance competition every day. At the same time, he was visiting dance professors at the arts colleges of several local universities, framing the visits as interviews for a show. He wanted to express his support and love for the art of dance, trying to build a good impression of Headline Today within the dance community. As the company structure expanded and became more specialized, there were many things he no longer had to do himself. When a company becomes a program, it automatically runs according to the framework that has been set. Cole's job was to steer the ship. The regional competitions began on March 20th. As if by silent boycott, not a single television station was willing to broadcast or rebroadcast the events. But the online hype was through the roof. Dancing was a popular form of entertainment, especially watching beautiful women dance. And male dancers had a huge audience too. Of course, this was all thanks to Cole's behind-the-scenes promotion. He'd also paid for trending topics on Twitter. He didn't care if people on Twitter cursed him out. He bought the promo anyway. Slice Video had a live stream and VODs. Cole used every method of hype he could think of. The discussions on Headline Today and Slice Video were explosive. There were dedicated teams interviewing the losing and winning teams. Many online tourists, just to participate in the discussion, also registered for Headline Today accounts. Today was the end of the month, and the first-place winners from each region had been decided. Including Rockford, all the winners were dance teams of 4 or more people. There were all-girl groups, co-ed groups, and one all-male group. Only in the Shanghai region, the first-place winner was a mother-daughter duo. And this duo was the hottest topic online. They danced K-pop. Their figures were amazing, their style passionate and bold. Their facial expressions were on point, their sense of rhythm powerful. Their dance costumes were tastefully sexy, not too traditional, but not too revealing either. Their similar faces and their relationship status created a strong, strange impact on many viewers. It made one easily think of the words taboo and transgression. Cole was currently watching an interview with this pair. "I own a dance studio," the mature, beautiful mother, P16.She, said with a reserved smile. Her eyes held a trace of apprehension at being in the spotlight. "What made you decide to enter the Headline Today modern dance competition?" "For the prize money," Serafina said with a helpless smile, tinged with a bit of bitterness. Anyone could see that she was facing financial difficulties and had been forced to compete. The girl next to her, Gina, hugged her mother with a look of heartache. The Headline Today reporter seemed very sympathetic and changed the subject. "Your daughter's sense of dance is also excellent. Has she been learning from you since she was little?" "Yes, I studied dance, and she started learning from me when she was 3. I never forced her. She loves it herself," Serafina said, looking at her daughter with warmth in her eyes. "Did your family support you entering the competition?" the reporter asked again. Serafina hesitated, then answered with difficulty, "My daughter and I only have each other." "I'm sorry, can we not talk about this?" "Oh, I'm sorry. The 2 dances you performed, did you choreograph them yourself?" the reporter said with an awkward laugh. His lack of experience was showing. Cole didn't mind. In fact, he thought it was a good question. Male viewers would love this. Serafina's expression brightened considerably, and her eyes lit up. "Yes, I choreographed them both myself. My daughter also gave me a lot of useful suggestions." "My mom is amazing," Gina said with a very sweet smile. The interview with the duo was long, a full 15 minutes. Clearly, the interview team realized they needed to stoke this fire. You could see how much the audience loved the pair just from the comment section. "Ah, I'm in love. You don't have to do it for the prize money. I'm willing to support the daughter. Dude above me, I can see your evil intentions from 3 states away. A strong, independent mother and daughter. It breaks my heart. I'm different from you guys. I like the mother-in-law." Anyway, the main theme of the comment section was not about dance. The strong, independent mother and daughter competing for prize money to survive were already trending. Cole added more fuel to the fire, buying another round of promotion. He just wanted the hype. He didn't care about anything else. Knock, knock, knock. With the sound of knocking, a figure in professional attire pushed the door open and slipped inside, closing it behind her. Cole quickly paused the interview video. "Mr. Chun, what are you watching? So sneaky." Yvonne looked at him with a puzzled expression. "What are you talking about? How am I being sneaky? I'm just sitting here." Cole rolled his eyes at her. "Liar. You were watching that mother-daughter duo, weren't you?" Yvonne said with contempt. She was still mad that he had used her in his scheme a few days ago. "If you have something to say it. They're the first-place winners from a regional competition. Of course I have to pay attention," Cole said with an air of righteousness. "I knew it. You were definitely watching. A lot of the guys in the company are watching. I guess you're no exception." Yvonne huffed twice. "Say that again," Cole threatened, picking up a folder. The vice president strode over defiantly, turned, and stuck out her rear. "Go on." Seeing his threat was useless, Cole threw the folder down. "What is it?" "This is the complete data analysis of all new user growth for the Headline ecosystem since the dance competition started. Take a look." Yvonne reluctantly turned back around, handing him the folder. "I'll look at it later." Cole took it, but didn't open it. The data analysis could wait. He needed to think about the difficulties he would face next, to find his own weaknesses and prepare in advance. "Okay, take your time then." Yvonne turned and left. Cole started playing the video again. With this duo's dance style and performance ability, their chances of winning the championship were high. A mother-daughter pair? If they won, what would that bring? There were definitely pros and cons. The competition show would be a hit, but there were downsides too. Would some people use this opportunity to stir up trouble, to link this duo to him? For example, claim there was insider trading, or even spread rumors that he, Cole Chun, had special tastes. If someone started a rumor, would this mother-daughter duo be bought off? And then turn around and bite him, say they were coerced, that they did some unspeakable things with him. Cole habitually thought through all the darkest possibilities in advance, to avoid falling into a pit of public opinion. Half an hour later, knock, 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 the door was knocked again. Jasmine pushed it open and came in. Her hair was in a bun, and she wore a coffee-colored thin trench coat over a black knit sweater, paired with light gray wide-leg pants. She was still wearing her flatboat shoes. They didn't hurt her toes, and she particularly liked them. Cole calmly paused the video. Didn't Jasmine have an important class? Mr. Chun, a manager from the Boston office, has applied for a transfer back to Rockford. He's willing to give up his manager-level position. Jasmine placed an application form on the desk. The department director had already signed it, and the receiving department had also signed off. As the VP of HR, Jasmine had signed it too. But a manager-level transfer ultimately needed Cole's signature. Okay, good. Cole's heart settled. So it was for work. He thought one of his VPs had ratted him out. He was worrying for nothing. He picked up the application, glanced at it, and then signed his name with a flourish. Transferring for love. He wondered if the guy would regret it later. Jasmine took the signed application, then suddenly said, I'm heading back to campus later, so I'm too lazy to turn on my computer. I'll just use yours. Her expression was natural, as if she had just thought of it. But in Cole's mind, alarm bells were ringing. This is not good, right? Jasmine never used his computer, let alone made such a request. Jasmine, well, Cole moved the mouse, wanting to close the video. But when he saw the hint of a smile in her eyes, his hand froze. Fine, look, there's nothing I can do. Besides, he was thinking about business. That's right, he was thinking about business. What was there to be afraid of? Go ahead, Jasmine, Cole said magnanimously, standing up. Jasmine replied faintly. She sat down in the CEO's chair, her eyes glancing at the video on the screen. She said, as if casually, this duo is pretty good. They're the favorites to win. Yes, I'm keeping an eye on them too, Cole said, standing to the side, still a little nervous. Jasmine didn't close the video. Instead, she opened her HR system backend and modified the transferring employees department. Cole breathed a sigh of relief. Then he heard Jasmine suddenly speak. That mother-daughter pair is really pretty, but the mother is so young. How could she have such a big kid? I was wondering the same thing, Cole said, his heart skipping a beat as he played along. Maybe she just takes really good care of herself. Jasmine corrected herself. Probably. If they win, you'll have to present the award. You do it, Jasmine. I don't want to go on stage. Really? That wouldn't be right. What's not right about it? The VP of HR presenting the award has enough weight. Oof. Of course the boss has to do it. Otherwise, it doesn't show enough respect. Jasmine pouted, finally dropping her calm facade. All right, I'm done, she said. She closed the HR system, then clicked back to the video page and hit play. Her face wore an interested expression. Wow, they're really good looking. So many people like them. Look at all these comments. Watching her put on this act, Cole laughed inwardly. He bent down and scooped her up into his arms. Hey, we're at work. What are you doing? Jasmine yelped, swatting his shoulder. I am working, Cole said, sitting back in the chair with her in his lap. Put me down. Someone will knock and see us. How embarrassing would that be? Jasmine's pretty face showed a mix of anger and embarrassment, and she pinched him again. Cole, you can't do this. If people find out, how am I supposed to enforce the rules? Who's going to find out? Jasmine, I want a kiss. Cole was determined to change the subject. Kiss my foot. Jasmine pinched his lips together, making them look like a duck's beak. All you ever think about is kissing. I should glue your lips shut. See how you kiss then. Cole ignored her, brazenly wrapping his arms around her neck and pulling her down. P16. You jerk. In the office. P16. You never listen. Jasmine tried to dodge, was caught, dodged again, and was caught again. The game of chase began. There was nowhere to hide. After a few seconds, her face was held firmly. Cole wasn't just kissing. His hands weren't idle either. After several long minutes, Jasmine finally broke free. You ate all my lipstick. Now I have to reapply it. And you messed up my hair. You're so annoying. She pulled at his cheeks in frustration, her eyes full of shame and anger. You're so lecherous. I'm telling you. You need to stay away from those two. You hear me. It's easy for people to talk. With his cheeks being pinched, Cole's speech was muffled and goofy. I won't, Jasmine. You know me. I'm a gentleman. If you're a gentleman, then there's no such thing as a fake gentleman in this world, Jasmine said, her teeth grinding as she pulled his cheeks apart. You're wronging me, Cole whimpered, but he was already standing up, trying to place her on the desk. You bad thing. You can't. Jasmine knew what he was about to do and scrambled to get down, terrified. She broke free, only to be pulled back by Cole. Really, you can't. Cole, it's not over yet, Jasmine whispered, her voice tight with a mix of panic and anger as she gripped his hands. Being tormented like this, yet perversely happy about it, was a very complicated feeling. I thought it was, Cole said, stopping, his voice full of disappointment. It's the last day. Ugh, you're so annoying. Jasmine's face was flushed with anger as she frantically straightened her slightly disheveled clothes. As she fixed her hair, she shot him a glare. You pervert. So annoying. But deep in her eyes, there was not a trace of anger. Only a flickering, hidden pleasure. Is it my fault? It's because you're always enchanting me. Because you're so beautiful, Cole shamelessly complimented her. You need to be professional at work. Jasmine slapped his hand away and pointed at the chair, commanding, Go sit. Cole obediently sat back down, but his eyes were still on her. If there was such a thing as a beauty who could topple nations, it would have to be his Jasmine. The more she pinched him, the more she scolded him, the more he lost control. It was like he was being hypnotized. Her destructive power was too strong. Serena and Luna were still young, a different kind of pure beauty. Luna was still so shy, even in their most joyous moments. After being lost in ecstasy, she would always cover her face, not letting him see her expression. This, in turn, only stimulated him more. Wait, where was my mind going? Cole bit his tongue. Jasmine was about to reapply her lipstick, but stopped. She leaned over and kissed him on the lips. Then she tapped his forehead with her index finger. Keep your distance, you hear me. I hear you, Jasmine. Cole swallowed hard. Good. Behave. I'm going back to campus, Jasmine said, her expression satisfied. Let me walk you out, Jasmine. Cole's heart was itching. He wanted another kiss in the car. Sasha is driving me. You stay put. Oh, Jasmine, tomorrow night. You're impossible. Jasmine shot him a flirty, coquettish glare and walked away with a light spring in her step. Not even 10 minutes had passed. A small, rosy face peeked around the still-open office door. Mr. Chun, I want to talk to you about the copyright for the creative music on Beat Drop. Serena walked in, her expression cool and aloof. Today, she looked like she was untouched by the mortal world, dignified and serene. She wasn't wearing her usual sweet smile. Okay, Cole felt a sense of unease. What's wrong with Serena? He had almost never seen her act so businesslike. Her usual lilting tone was gone. Something was off. Serena didn't sit on the sofa, but walked over to the desk. She handed Cole a contract, her pretty face serious. Mr. Chun, look at this clause. I still feel it's not rigorous enough. It needs to be improved. What's wrong with this clause? Where isn't it rigorous? Cole widened his eyes to look at the contract. He had some understanding of legal terms, but he was definitely not as strong as a professional. Why was she discussing this with him? He looked up, intending to ask her directly what was going on. But then he saw her big, dark eyes glancing sideways at the screen. Cole instantly understood. He reached out and patted her pert backside. What are you looking at? I wasn't watching anything. Serena shivered, and the coolness on her face instantly melted away. She pouted. Don't hit me. You were looking. You're not allowed to look. What was I looking at, baby? Cole feigned ignorance. Serena turned and plopped down on his lap. She tilted her head, her expression petulant. Everyone else is looking, so you're not allowed to. You're just not allowed. Okay. I won't look, Cole said, wrapping his arms around her slender waist and chuckling. You were looking. See, it's on your screen. Serena pointed a finger at the still open browser on the monitor, where the title clearly displayed the words mother-daughter. I was just looking at the comments section, thinking about preparing for what's next. I know, but I just don't want you to look. All right, I won't look. I'll only look at my little baby. That's more like it. If you look, I won't dance for you anymore. The dance is ready. Cole's eyes lit up. The three of them had been practicing for a long time. It must be a difficult dance. He hadn't seen any of the rehearsals. I'm not telling you. It depends on your performance. Oomph. Serena lifted her chin arrogantly. Don't worry, baby. I'll be on my best behavior. Tell me, what dance is it? Cole was getting curious. Not telling you. Serena made a mischievous little face, then suddenly leaned close to his ear and whispered, I'll be wearing the clothes you like to see. The clothes he liked to see? All kinds of stockings. The ones from that night? That was impossible, but it was still a little exciting. Cole's insides felt like an erupting volcano. He remembered the 3 different Cheongsams and stockings from his birthday dance. What clothes? It's a secret. If you're not good, you won't get to see. Humph. Let me guess, 3 sets of stockings. Not 3 sets, 4. Ugh. I'm not saying. You're not allowed to ask anymore. Okay. I won't ask. Cole was delighted, but also a little surprised. 4 sets? Who was the 4th? Yvonne. She was good looking, but if she was there, he wouldn't be able to look freely. How frustrating. Wait, she was practicing too? Hiss. You, Yvonne Wong, you actually went and tattled. Cole was certain now. His VP had allied herself with Jasmine. She had snitched on him. He kept his expression neutral, gently coaxing Serena with soft words and touches and kisses. Soon, Serena forgot all about the video. Not long after she left, another person came in. It was the hesitant Luna. Cole knew what was happening. Yvonne had definitely snitched. She must have notified everyone. Brother. Luna walked to the desk, looking like she wanted to say something, but couldn't. Go close the door first, Luna. Lock it, Cole said, patting her ample rear. Okay. Luna's face flushed red. She closed and locked the door, then walked back, even more at a loss for words. What's wrong, Lou? Cole said, pulling her onto his lap. That. I'm not looking. Am I that kind of person? No. You're not. Right? Am I or am I not? You're not. Brother. Jasmine sis told me not to come. She said you wouldn't be able to work. Did she? MMPH. Isn't this me working? This isn't work. Brother, you can't look at other people. After Luna said this, she bit her lower lip and a blush crept up her pale neck. Besides talking, she held back any other sounds. I have no interest in looking at other people. So why don't you let me look my fill of you, okay? Okay. A single word escaped Luna's lips with difficulty. The more greedy her brother was, the more reassured she felt. The looking went on for a while. If it weren't for the fact that things were busy lately and someone could come in to report at any moment, it probably would have gone on longer. Luna tidied herself up and left, happy. A female bodyguard was waiting in the car to drive her. Cole leaned back in his chair, the sweet aftertaste still lingering in his mouth. Suddenly, he remembered something. He shot up straight and sent a message to Yvonne on Messenger. Come in for a second. I want to talk about the competition. A moment later, the crisp sound of high heels came from outside. Yvonne walked in. Mr. Chun, come here. Cole smiled and beckoned to her. I'm not coming over. Just say what you have to say. Yvonne not only didn't come closer, she took a few steps back. Then you can leave. Cole's smile vanished. Fine, I'm coming. Yvonne came over after all. She walked up to Cole's side, her face calm, but her heart was pounding. Cole definitely knew she had snitched, but she had to. That so-called mother-daughter duo could easily arouse a man's strange desires. Only Jasmine could subdue Cole. Serena and Luna could act as a deterrent. She was also doing it for his own good. You betrayed me. Cole deliberately made it sound serious. He didn't expect Yvonne to admit it so readily. I did. What if you get bewitched? Hey, Cole was furious. You just admit it. Of course. If you're not happy about it, go tell Ms. Young. Yvonne mustered her courage, her face a mask of indifference. Fine. You're the boss. How was I getting bewitched? You never know. By the time you are, it'll be too late. Turn around, Cole said, his belly full of frustration as he grabbed a folder. Yvonne huffed and turned around. Go on, hit me. Do you dare? Smack, smack, smack. 3 sharp sounds in a row. You really hit me. Yvonne spun around, a look of astonishment on her face. Her heart was trembling, but her expression was one of extreme embarrassment as she rubbed her backside and complained. Couldn't you be a little gentler? You use so much force. That was gentle. You sold me out. And for no good reason. Cole tossed the folder aside. You can't use this to hit me anymore. Yvonne's cheeks were burning, but she still managed to protest. There's the next time. You're going to sell me out in your dreams, aren't you? Anyway, you can't use this. It's loud, and it hurts, Yvonne said, stomping her foot. I can't be bothered with you. Cole snorted. She'd sold him out to Jasmine. What could he do? Fine, don't bother. You call me in just to hit me. I'm leaving. With that, Yvonne turned to go. She walked with a catwalk strut, her hips swaying like a willow in the wind. It was as if the 3 smacks had bent her spine. The finals were a week away. The regional champions needed to rest and prepare to pull out all the stops. On Headline Today and Twitter, the prediction polls were unanimous. Everyone was betting on the mother-daughter duo from New York. The teams from Austin, Rockford, Miami, and Philadelphia were feeling the pressure. Cole had already booked the Rockford Stadium, which could seat 13,000 people. The stage was built, and the crew was running final lighting adjustments and safety checks. On the surface, Headline Today's dance competition was being snubbed by the mainstream. But in reality, a lot of people were paying close attention. Boston, the Tennegrade Tower. The kid will definitely be on stage to present the award, the head of Tennegrade's investment division said with a chuckle. Arrange for someone to give him a little surprise. From what I've seen, he doesn't seem to care much about losing face, his subordinate replied. He might not care on a normal day, but at a moment like that, in front of everyone, losing face will be a huge deal. What if he finds out we were behind it? That could be bad for us. What's so bad about it? We couldn't reach a deal with him anyway. And if you can't make a deal with Tennegrade, you're an enemy. Should we do anything else? No. Poaching his people isn't our department's job. Meanwhile, in another high-rise in the city's tech district, at the headquarters of Vantage Ventures, it would be a shame for him to fall now, said Ing Lee, the head of the fund. Should we try talking to him again? Everyone in the upper echelons knew what the deal was with that mother-daughter pair. It was a honey trap, plain and simple. But no one was going to call out because they all played the same dirty games. Jiochin is a Goldman Sachs operation, the head of Vantage said, shaking his head. We can't afford to offend Goldman. Goldman Sachs was connected to a woman who was very important to Vantage's parent company, one of their earliest and most helpful investors. But she also had a huge appetite when it came to taking a bite out of them. Regardless, the value proposition wasn't there. It wasn't worth the risk. He paused, then added, but there's one thing I need you to handle. You have a better touch for this. Reach out to his VPs, especially the one in charge of the Business Development Center. She's a real talent. Across the tech world, industry titans were watching from the sidelines. Those who didn't know the inside story were just waiting to see how much money Cole would lose. Those who did know were waiting to see the dark horse stumble and fall. He was running too wild, and it was making a lot of people nervous. There were only a few ways to take down a purely digital enterprise. You could find loopholes in their taxes, sabotage their platform, or attack the people at the top, corrupt them, create a scandal. Since someone else was already making a move, everyone else was happy to just watch the show. Even Mr. Lay, the famous Eastwood alum, could only remain silent. Warning his young fellow alumnus would mean offending too many powerful people, and there were no secrets in their world. Their shared alma mater wasn't enough to justify that kind of risk. All he could do was watch and see how lucky the kid was. If his luck ran out, well, Lay was always looking for talented people to staff his own numerous investments. New York, Starstruck Entertainment. I can't believe his little show is actually this popular. The view count on that Slice video app is insane, the vice president said, a hint of surprise in his voice. It's just Slice video. How many people in the country are even on that platform? If it's not on network television, it's second rate. Most people have never even heard of it, the president replied, his tone dismissive. That's true. He's probably just trying to generate some ad buzz, but it's a clumsy approach. The sponsorship money is pathetic, the VP nodded. If you ask me, he's just a rich kid with too much time on his hands. He's probably using this whole thing to recruit his own private dance troupe, the president said, with a contemptuous smile. A young man who stumbles into a fortune is bound to want to play emperor. Maybe, the VP said, not wanting to argue. In his heart, though, he disagreed. No one, no matter how foolish, would go about it this way. But the president had been parachuted in from a major network, and he wasn't someone the VP could afford to cross. Find some people to go stir up the crowd a little, the president chuckled. Understood. The Rockford finals were held on April 10th. The show officially started at 7 p.m. Tickets were $10, first come, first served. The small fee was just to prevent random people from wandering in to take up seats and nap. Even so, it attracted a huge crowd, students, local young people, and a swarm of Headline Today influencers there to film content. The remaining seats were filled with supporters of the various dance teams. The show was still too niche for ticket scalpers to bother with. By 6 o'clock, the audience was already filing in. The Headline Today team was in overdrive. Cole and his top executives were all on site. The finals would use the same scoring system, with the lowest scoring team eliminated each round. There were 6 judges in total, 3 from the National Dance Association and 3 renowned dance professors from various universities. Since it was a national competition, only one judge was from the Rockford area. The stadium was packed, a sea of dark figures. Then, the stage lights blazed to life. The host, dressed in a sky blue evening gown, walked to the center of the stage. It was Headline Today's star influencer, Amy, who now ran her own affiliated studio. She smiled brightly, raising the microphone. Headline Today, connecting you to the world. Welcome to the national finals of the Dance Off Modern Dance Competition, hosted by Headline Today. All proceeds from tonight's ticket sales will be donated to underprivileged elementary schools, with donation receipts posted on Headline Today's official account. And our CEO, Mr. Chun, has decided that the top 3 teams will receive promotional support from the Headline Today platform. The first team to perform was a dance studio from Miami. Their leader was their coach, who is also the president of the University of Miami's Dance Society. Their routine was solid and professional, a fusion of classical and modern styles set to a popular top 40 song. They scored a 95. The next 3 teams scored similarly, with the highest at 97, 5 and the lowest, an all-male group from Philadelphia at 94. The last to take the stage was the mother-daughter duo. Dressed in t-shirts and tight denim shorts, they looked scorching hot. The moment they appeared, the stadium erupted in applause and screams. Serafina Sue wore a demure smile, waving to the crowd. But she moved her lips slightly, whispering in Korean to her daughter, Gina, whose eyes were scanning the audience. "Don't look for him. I just want to see if he's really that handsome," Gina whispered back without moving her head. "Don't. You'll draw attention." "Fine." Their dance was another K-pop routine. This one was more restrained, less overtly provocative. But with their reputation preceding them, their synchronized movements still felt like a feast for the senses. They scored a 96. The applause they received dwarfed that of the other teams. The two bowed politely and left the stage. The first round saw the all-male group from Philadelphia eliminated. During the 10-minute intermission, a Headline Today reporter interviewed the defeated team. "We're still in college. This is just a hobby for us," the leader said graciously. "We're just happy we got the chance to participate." The second round was a series of one-on-one duels to determine the finalists. In the end, it came down to the Rockford team and the mother-daughter pair. The two teams would now perform their ultimate routines to win the championship trophy and the prize money. The Rockford team went first. They were a group of freshmen from Eastwood Teachers College, exuding a fresh, vibrant energy. They had chosen a jazz routine that incorporated acrobatic gymnastics. The 5 of them, with their 5 pairs of long legs, blossomed on stage like a flower. It was a spectacular sight. They scored a 97. 5. Thrilled, they exited the stage to thunderous applause. Then, it was time for the mother-daughter duo. The stadium lights dimmed. The audience fell silent, waiting for the taboo pair to make their stunning entrance. After a few breaths, a few faint beams of light appeared on stage. In the dimness, a powerful female voice began to chant. 2 figures, each carrying an umbrella, could be vaguely seen walking from opposite ends of the stage. The light slowly brightened, revealing 2 spinning red paper umbrellas. The mother and daughter held the umbrellas to hide half of their bodies, taking tiny, shuffling steps toward the center. It was clear they were wearing some kind of long robes. When the stage lights came up fully, the 2 women stood still. In time with the chanting rhythm, they turned to glance at the audience, revealing faces that were strikingly similar, yet held completely different auras. They offered a faint smile, their eyes full of emotion. A drumbeat sounded, and they turned back away from the audience. The sound of a pipa joined in, the red umbrellas still spinning serenely. Then, the chanting and pipa stopped, replaced by a deep, rumbling bass. The 2 women closed their umbrellas, crouched, and placed them on the floor. It was now clear they were wearing long, flowing robes that dragged on the ground, with wide, Japanese-style sleeves. The daughter's was white with a pink floral print. The mother's was black with a bold red pattern. As a cheerful, rhythmic melody began, they stood and turned. In one swift motion, they flung their robes open. The male half of the audience let out a collective howl. Underneath, both women wore dark, high-cut leotards that revealed the top of their thighs. A wide, red-trimmed black cloth panel hung in front, covering them down to their knees. They were barefoot. For a single second, as they threw open their robes, their pale white legs were completely exposed. The contrast of red and black, combined with the stage lighting, gave their skin a luminous, almost electric quality. It was a massive visual shock. The robes fell, closed again, partially concealing their legs. Now a tantalizing game of peekaboo. The music shifted to a light, upbeat drum rhythm, and they launched into a Latin-inspired sequence. It was passionate and fiery, their long robes swirling around them. The dual temptations of white and black held the entire audience in a silent trance. But the Latin dance was just the beginning. The routine seamlessly blended elements of traditional Japanese dance, modern K-pop, and ballroom. They spun continuously, sending their robes and the red and black panels flying. Every so often, a high kick, perfectly timed to the beat, would strike a chord deep in the audience's collective psyche, sparking forbidden thoughts. The effect was magnified by the knowledge that they were mother and daughter. It tapped into some dark, primal corner of the mind, stirring strange and powerful impulses. Sitting in the audience, Cole marveled at their skill. They were absolute professionals. They knew exactly how to command a crowd's attention. He only dared to praise them internally. On the surface, he maintained a serious, composed expression. 3 pairs of beautiful eyes were glancing his way every few seconds. And then there was the traitor, Yvonne. For the entire 3-minute performance, the stadium was silent except for the music. As the song reached its final crescendo, the 2 women each picked up their red paper umbrellas. They snapped them open in perfect sync, striking a pose with one foot on tiptoe, flawlessly showcasing their legs. The mother was tall and statuesque, her legs long and slender. The daughter was smaller, delicate, and cute, offering a different but equally compelling charm. The stadium erupted in thunderous applause, whistles, and screams. Champions! 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 The chant was deafening. The mother and daughter closed their umbrellas, stood straight, and bowed to the audience. The seductive, flamboyant expressions they'd worn while dancing were gone, replaced by a shy modesty. They seemed almost embarrassed by their revealing costumes. The 6 judges began to score. All were 99 or above, with 4 perfect 100s. Final score, 99. 8. The champions were decided. The daughter jumped up and threw her arms around her mother. The mother wiped a tear from the corner of her eye. The scene was incredibly moving. Amy walked onto the stage, beaming. Congratulations to you both. At this moment, is there anything you'd like to say to the audience? Serafina, Sue said thank you and took the microphone. Her voice trembled, likely from the excitement. First, I want to apologize. This dance represents the collision of freedom and tradition, and for the sake of the performance, we chose these costumes. She choked up, her voice thick with emotion. This display transformed the audience's excitement into sympathy. The sensuality of a moment ago was suddenly elevated, imbued with a kind of artistic nobility. How professional! What dedication! All for the sake of art. So moving. Gina hugged her mother, comforting her with a soft, "Mom." Serafina composed herself and bowed. Thank you to all the judges. Thank you, everyone. My name is... Next came a Q&A session with the judges. The pair answered every question, speaking of the hardships of their lives, of the struggle and perseverance of a single mother raising her daughter alone. They won over the entire crowd, earning waves of stunned applause. When the interaction ended, Amy loudly announced the winners. Then she continued, and now, please welcome the founder and CEO of Headline Today, Mr. Cole Chun, to present the award to our champions. She led the applause, and the audience enthusiastically joined in. Apart from the students, many people in the crowd had no idea what the boss of Headline Today looked like. Even some of the students didn't know. After all, most were just focused on their own campus lives. Cole stood up, smoothed his suit jacket, and strode confidently onto the stage. Gasps rippled through the audience. The boss of Headline Today is that young? And that handsome? The 6 judges smiled and applauded. If not for his status, they'd do it for the appearance fee. Down below, 3 young women stared intently at Cole's hands. He'd better not touch them improperly. In the audience, Mary Gao sat quietly, a faint, knowing smile on her lips. This pair of hired guns had never failed. They had gathered plenty of blackmail material before, a powerful tool for controlling founders and executives. This was the first time they had used this particular dance to win a championship. Seeing the greedy looks on the faces of the men around her, she knew just how potent the temptation was. Everyone has a weakness. The dark side of human nature always craves the forbidden. There were almost no exceptions. Could this young, virile CEO possibly resist? On stage, Serafina Sue accepted the trophy, her face a mask of pure gratitude. Her gaze toward Cole was perfectly proper, without a hint of impropriety. She didn't try to brush his hand or make any other cheap move. That was amateur hour. Cole took the microphone from Amy and spoke in a clear, strong voice. A well-deserved victory. That was a spectacular dance, full of powerful emotional expression. The success of this competition is thanks to Mr. Chun, a loud voice shouted from the audience. Mr. Chun, I'd like to ask a question. All heads turned to the person who had interrupted Cole. It was a man in his late 20s wearing glasses. He had his hand raised, completely unafraid of the thousands of eyes on him. Stadium security started to move toward him. Cole just smiled. Please, have a staff member give him a microphone. Let's hear what he has to say. If someone wanted to cause trouble, let them. What could it be? Just some baseless accusations. A headline today, employee handed the man a microphone. The man with the glasses stood up, tapped the mic to test it, and then asked, Mr. Chun, I heard a rumor that you arranged for this mother-daughter pair to be here, and that otherwise they wouldn't have had time to prepare such a brilliant dance. Is this true? And can you tell us, what is your relationship with them? The audience exchanged strange looks. Arranged? It's possible. Keep the prize money in-house. That last question, in particular, piqued everyone's curiosity. And their jealousy. Mary Gao frowned from her seat. What idiot is messing things up? If this disruption derailed her plan, everything that came next would be ruined. On stage, Sue's heart tightened. This could make her target keep his distance, and that would make her job much harder. In the headline today's section, everyone glared at the man. The three girls looked ready to kill. Yvonne was about to signal security to throw the guy out. The audience turned their attention back to Cole on stage, waiting to see how he would respond. Cole laughed to himself. Of course, this old, tired trick. He kept the smile on his face and said, If what you're saying is true, wouldn't it be much easier for me to just sign them and make them famous nationwide? Why would I go to all this trouble just so you could spend $10 to sit here and dig a pit for me to fall into? A wave of laughter rolled through the audience. He had a point. Signing them as influencers would be far more effective. The man in glasses wasn't ready to give up. But what? Cole's smile vanished, his expression turning cold. Who did you hear this from? Or did you just make it up yourself? Do you have any idea what the penalty is for disrupting public order, for slander, for inciting trouble? Who gave you the courage? The entire stadium was stunned. It was only then that many people remembered. That's right. This guy isn't afraid of anything. He's famously reckless. The man's face changed, the words he had prepared getting stuck in his throat. I just heard it somewhere. It was just a casual question. My apologies. He put down the microphone, hunched over, and started shuffling his way out. The sudden interruption ended with a whimper instead of a bang. Cole didn't stop him. He didn't have sufficient reason to. Calling the police would be pointless. He continued his speech, encouraging the development of modern dance, and so on. After he finished, just as he was about to hand the microphone back to Amy, a new clamor rose from the audience. The noise slowly became a unified chant. Dance for U.S., Mr. Chun. Dance for U.S., Mr. Chun. Dance for U.S., Mr. Chun. The chanting grew louder and louder as more people joined in. Soon, even curious onlookers were shouting along, creating a wave of sound. Within seconds, the entire stadium was roaring, Dance for U.S., Mr. Chun. Cole put on a troubled expression, but inwardly he was sneering. So, they really went with this angle. He had anticipated this, though he'd thought the probability was low. It seemed perfectly normal for a corporate founder not to be a good dancer. But he was too young. Youth could be a license for recklessness, but sometimes it was a trap. Like being forced to dance in public at the awards ceremony for a dance competition. If he were older, a bad performance would be expected. But he was young. He was hosting a dance competition, and he had the reputation from his company's annual party performance. If he danced poorly, he'd be a laughingstock. His face would be plastered all over YouTube in meme compilations. It would be a huge blow to his and Headline Today's image. It would even tarnish the upcoming launch of Beat Drop. Reputation is a fragile thing. Public opinion can be deadly. Beside him, Sue was growing impatient. Why is someone else causing trouble? She just wanted to move on to the next step smoothly. She considered taking the initiative herself, offering to dance again to save him and earn some goodwill. In the audience, Mary Gao was cursing under her breath. Another idiot. While both interruptions were meant to sabotage Cole, their goals were clearly different. She just wanted to control or destroy Cole. She didn't want the entire headline brand to suffer. On the other side, the three girls were panicking. Cole didn't know how to dance, did he? This was an impossible situation. Just refuse. So what if it was embarrassing? The scandal would eventually die down. Beside them, Lin Fan whispered, maybe he could just do the dance from the annual party. Yvonne clamped a hand over her mouth. Don't talk. He can't do that dance here. The judges just smiled, watching with detached amusement. It was none of their business. However Cole resolved this, it had nothing to do with them. Cole feigned hesitation, but he already had a plan. How could he pass up an opportunity to show off that was handed to him on a silver platter? Being forced to dance versus choosing to dance had completely different effects. If he did it voluntarily, he might be seen as a show-off. But being forced to do it, and then doing it well, that was a straight shot to positive fame. He didn't mind selling himself a little to give the headline brand a boost. The chanting continued, relentless. It seemed he was well and truly backed into a corner. "Amy," he said quietly, "tell the backstage crew to play P16.She's Bye Bye Bye. Start it from the chorus, but roll it back 10 seconds. Start at 43, 50, and make sure it's the P16.She version." "Right away, Mr. Chun," a flustered Amy said, rushing off to give the instructions. Cole smiled and held up his hands to quiet the crowd. The roar subsided, and a hush fell over the stadium. "All right, since I'm the one who hosted this dance competition, I'll make a fool of myself and give you all a little something extra. If I'm terrible, please be gentle. P16.She's Bye Bye Bye, a song from 2000, not out of place. The moves weren't hard, only the springy head bob was a little tricky. Cole had learned the original choreography back in 2022 when he was trying to look cool. He'd only ever performed it once, drunk, the same night he was taken out. A quick 40 or 50-second routine would be more than enough to get the job done. The now quiet audience began to stir again. He's actually going to do it. It couldn't be the dance from the annual party, could it? But he didn't have any partners. Unless the mother-daughter duo. But he saw them retreat shyly to the edge of the stage. Definitely not them. Someone in the audience shouted, "Go for it, Mr. Chun. We support you. Dance for us, Mr. Chun. I'm so excited. So excited. You danced at your company party. You've got this." On stage, Jasmine and the others were dying of anxiety. What was Cole going to do? They'd never seen him dance before. Cole raised his hands again, and the stadium fell silent. He undid the button on his suit jacket. He was wearing only a white dress shirt underneath, no tie. He centered himself, waiting for the beat to drop. A few people in the audience were smirking, waiting for the joke. They already had their phones out, recording. Some had even brought professional-grade compact cameras, hidden in the crowd. Most of the audience was just curious. The ones who were truly on edge were the Headline Today employees. The event was being live-streamed on Slice. Mr. Chun, a supposed dance legend after the annual party, couldn't afford to mess this up. The stage lights dimmed, and 3 spotlights converged on Cole. The backstage crew had spontaneously decided to add some atmosphere. Suddenly, the music blasted from the speakers. "I know that I can't take no more, it ain't no lie. I want to see you out that door, baby. Bye, bye, bye." The instant the first note hit, Cole started to move. A leg kick, a shoulder shrug to the left, then the right. "Bye, bye, I don't want to be a fool for you." The classic left, right, left, left shuffle. The moment he heard the rhythm, Cole found his groove. Screw it, he thought. If I'm going to do this, I might as well enjoy it. It's not every day I get to show off for this many people. Baby, bye, 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 bye. I don't really want to make it tough. The audience was dead silent. They watched their CEO, strutting and posing, yet full of power. The moves were simple but exaggerated, perfectly in sync with the beat. His head bobbed, as if it were on a spring. He even turned, slapped his own firm ass twice, and winked. Holy crap, it was perfect, and that expression. So cocky. Many in the audience just stared, mouths agape, as if witnessing a miracle. Even the judges looked on in amazement. They never expected him to actually be good. Jasmine's worries had long since vanished, replaced by a mix of excitement and suspicion. That bastard. Where did he learn to do that? Serena bit her index finger, her face flushed pink. She desperately wanted her Cole to hold her, to squeeze her tight. Luna covered her mouth, her cheeks spread wide with a smile. Her eyes were filled with adoration. Brother is amazing. He's amazing at everything. Yvonne's mouth hung open, her eyes wide. She never would have guessed. This cocky kid was full of surprises. He was so sexy, so cool. She couldn't help but cross her legs and squeeze them tight. In the crowd, a few people looked disappointed. They had come to make memes, to create a viral video of his failure, to shatter the image of the handsome internet entrepreneur. Sometimes, a person's reputation really did affect their company's performance. Now, not only had they failed to shatter his image, they had given him a platform to make it shine even brighter. Hidden among them, Mary Gao's expression was unreadable. Whether he could dance or not was irrelevant. It didn't affect her plan at all. Cole finished the chorus, but then the second verse started up. He had no choice but to do it again. As the final notes of Baby Bye 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 faded, he stopped and motioned to the sound booth. The music cut off abruptly. And then, the entire stadium exploded in a frenzy of applause. The screams were endless. The girls in the audience cupped their hands around their mouths, shrieking, "Mr. Chun, you were amazing. Cole, I love you. You're a legend, Mr. Chun. You're so hot." Amy walked back on stage, clapping, her face a mask of pure adoration as she handed him the microphone. Cole smiled and held up his hands to quiet the crowd again. "Huh, there you have it. Are you all satisfied?" "Yes, totally satisfied, beyond satisfied." The response was a tidal wave, the collective power of every woman in the stadium unleashed. Even Jasmine was screaming. She'd figure out where he learned it later. Right now, she was cheering for her man. Serena was practically jumping up and down. Luna was waving her hands, too shy to jump. Cole smiled again. "Did you all like it?" "Yes. We loved it." The crowd roared back, mostly female voices. "I'm glad that all of you came to watch Headline Today's dance competition is an honor for me, Cole Chun. The success of this event is all thanks to your support. I am deeply grateful to every one of you for being here." Cole gave a deep, 90-degree bow. The gesture brought tears to the eyes of some of the girls in the audience. It was so moving. Such class. "And thank you to all our judges for your hard work," Cole said, bowing toward the judges panel. "If you're going to put on a show, you go all the way." The 6 judges waved their hands quickly, smiling humbly as if to say it was nothing. "I'd like to take this opportunity to announce one more thing," Cole said, seizing the moment. "At the end of this month, Headline Today will be holding a launch event for a new product. I hope you'll all pay attention and support us. It's something really fun, and I promise you won't be disappointed." He dropped the first hint about the launch. "For all you dance lovers, you'll soon have a way to showcase your talents anytime you want. Just shoot and post, no complicated editing required. I can't explain it all now, so please stay tuned for Headline Today's announcement." "That's all from me. Thank you." Applause thundered through the stadium. At the edge of the stage, Serafina Sue's eyes glinted. Such an exceptional young man. It's almost a shame to do this to him. But then she sighed. A pity. The awards ceremony had been delayed long enough. The judges then presented the awards for 2nd and 3rd place. Cole, his job done, left the stadium with his 3 girls and Yvonne in tow. He left Whitney Yuan and her event planning team behind to handle the rest, communicating with the top 3 winners, distributing the prize money, and asking if they were interested in running official Headline Today accounts. In the car on the way back, Jasmine, in the passenger seat, couldn't hold back any longer. "Cole, where did you learn that?" "I learned in high school, sis. It's an old song," Cole said with a light laugh. He knew she'd be the first to ask. "Cole, you were so good." Serena cooed from the back, draping herself over his shoulder. She was so happy she didn't care about anything else. She just wanted to be close to him. Luna sat quietly in the middle, her eyes occasionally darting to Cole's profile, her heart full of love. She felt a pang of shame for being too shy to wear the costume he'd wanted. Next time, she thought, "I'll do what he asks." "Mr. Chun, you're going to be a huge star after this. You have no idea what the effect was like in there," Yvonne said, shifting uncomfortably in her seat. Even now, the memory left her feeling a little dizzy. It made her want someone to give her a good, hard spanking. Jasmine, in the front seat, felt a different kind of restlessness. There was only one way to solve this deep-seated longing, but she knew there would be no chance to be alone with him tonight. It was agonizing. They were all going back to the Golden Bay residences, and she couldn't very well ask the other girls to leave. That night, a post on Twitter quickly shot to the top of the trending list. Shocking. Headline Today founder Cole Chun forced to dance like this. The clickbait was irresistible. Some were just curious. A smaller, more malicious group wanted to see what kind of fool he'd made of himself. As the post gained traction, it climbed the ranks, soon breaking into the top 3 and knocking Starstruck Entertainment's running, Bro, off the trending page again. New York, in a sprawling penthouse apartment. The president of Starstruck Entertainment almost smashed his phone after hearing the report. What the hell? How did that Chin kid steal our trending spot again? Running Bro had cost a fortune to promote. Now the effect was cut in half, if not more. There's nothing we can do. The buzz is just too high. The public loves this kind of stuff, his VP said over the phone. That useless hack is worthless. Tell him I want my money back. If he refuses, I'll destroy him. The dance video continued to explode online. YouTube, Vimeo, Dailymotion. People were uploading clips everywhere. Its popularity far surpassed that of the mother-daughter champions. And on Headline Today and Slice Video, it was a viral phenomenon. Countless people were reposting and liking it. Influencers and dance studios were already rushing to imitate the routine. The live stream from Slice was crystal clear. People in the front rows had also recorded high-quality videos. It was much clearer than the footage from the annual party, where Cole wasn't the main focus and the three girls had stolen the show. Female viewers hadn't been particularly interested then, but this was different. For nearly a minute, he was the star, and the performance was incredibly charismatic. Combined with the driving rhythm of the P16.She song, it left a deep impression. Women, in particular, went crazy for it. Rich and cool, what wasn't to love? He was 100 times better than some trust fund kid. Even people in the entertainment industry were paying attention. Through word of mouth, the video spread like wildfire. Female celebrities who normally never paid attention to anything outside of their own bubble were now watching. In Boston, a famous actress who had been a child star was watching the video. "Damn, you got into a relationship too soon," her assistant said. "Otherwise, this guy would have been your perfect match. Rich and talented. I know, I missed my chance. Who knew a perfect man like this even existed? I can't just dump my boyfriend now." "Why not? I can put out some feelers for you, if you want," the assistant whispered, leaning closer. "I should." No, forget it." These starlets had seen plenty of rich men, sons of billionaires and politicians. But this was the first time they'd seen a young, self-made tycoon who was also handsome and talented. Seeing this video, more than a few of them were stirred. Some were green with envy. They hadn't paid much attention before, but now they realized there was a massive, prime catch swimming in the sea. Catching him would be the score of a lifetime. While the female stars were swooning and gossiping, a number of male stars were growing jealous, especially the handsome young actors who had become famous in the last couple of years, the darlings of network TV dramas. In New York, a hotshot actor was drinking in a club when he overheard the two girls he was with start gushing about another man. It drove him crazy, but he couldn't show that he was petty. He glanced at the video. Puffed. Not nearly as good as my rap skills. Elsewhere in the city, in a famous apartment building, a certain trainee who had been practicing for 2.5 years had just made it into the top 200 of the next star. He was on top of the world, celebrating with a few other contestants. "Oh my God, he's so hot. I'm dying," one of the girls suddenly shrieked, staring at her phone. "What?" The other girls crowded around. A moment later, a chorus of "Whoa" and "Oh my God, who is that?" filled the air. How can a man be that handsome and that sexy at the same time? The guys felt a sour pang of jealousy, craning their necks to see what was happening. When they finally saw the video, the trainee said dismissively, "It's not that great. The moves are super easy." "Yeah, I don't know what you're all screaming about," another male contestant added. "Give me a break. I'll show you a real performance one of these days." One of the girls rolled her eyes. "It's not the same, is it? For a guy with his status to be able to dance like that. If he were on the show, he'd make the top 5 easy." "Exactly," the other girls agreed. "He really is handsome." Another girl sighed, her eyes sparkling. She's headline today, so of course she knew who Cole Chun was. The news spread through the internet with astonishing speed. Even the high-fashion modeling world, normally insulated in its own bubble of luxury, began to take notice. Countless signals crisscrossed the web as women exchanged notes on how to best cook this particular piece of meat. He was the biggest catch in the sea. Everyone wanted a bite. Just one taste would be a win. To have him for good, that would be a comfortable life indeed. Singapore, a resort villa on Sentosa's beachfront. This was where the CEO of ConnectSphere usually stayed when he was in town. The environment was comfortable and quiet. Pony, headline today, has a new product. They put it on the market a couple of months ago for testing. I tried it out. The functionality isn't anything new, but the model is very interesting, said his chief strategic investment officer. New products are normal. Keep an eye on it. If it's a good fit, we'll copy it, the CEO said, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. He then asked, "Is his dance competition over?" "Yes, it just ended last night. The mother-daughter pair won, right?" "Yes. Keep a close eye on them. We'll observe for a while longer. If we get lucky, we'll move in to acquire the company." The CEO's gaze was deep, his mind always churning. He pursed his lips, his eyes drifting downward as if he'd thought of something else. Poach his VPs. Forget the R&D center. But even if we can't poach them, establish contact. There will always be opportunities later. Understood. The investment officer didn't ask why they shouldn't try to poach the head of R&D. ConnectSphere didn't lack for technical talent. The CEO himself had a tech background, and the company had legions of engineers. What they needed were brilliant managers. Even the target's most trusted finance chief was fair game. A CFO usually held all the company's secrets. If handled correctly, poaching one could deliver a fatal blow. It always came down to the same principle. If the price of betrayal is high enough, You can even poach their own father. The officer knew he had to move fast and ruthlessly. When the time came, they wouldn't be the only ones trying to pick the company apart. Rockford. It was mid-April, and it had been raining for days. The world was damp and sticky. In his office, Cole was meeting with the winners of the dance competition, Serafina and Gina Sue. The three girls weren't in this morning, so he had asked Yvonne to sit in. Not that he needed to ask. Yvonne had no intention of leaving. She wouldn't even step out to make tea. Serafina was wearing a trench coat and a long skirt, her posture elegant. A patch on her shoulder was damp, and there were raindrops in the ends of her hair. Gina, however, was bone dry. It was clear the mother had shielded her daughter with the umbrella. Gina was dressed more like a student, in denim shorts over leggings. Today, both of them were dressed very ordinarily, a stark contrast to their competition outfits. You're saying you don't want the prize money, you want a job at the company? Why? Don't you like money? Cole asked, his expression a mix of curiosity and confusion. Taken individually, the mother and daughter were maybe 6s or 7s, not quite on Yvonne's level, and certainly no match for his three girls. But when they sat together, the effect was different. The mother, quiet and ladylike. The daughter, cute with a hint of rebellion. And they looked so much alike. It created a strange, powerful synergy. If this were his past life, Cole would have had a hard time resisting. Just like he had a thing for his school crush's feet, it was something wired into a man's DNA, impossible to erase. Fortunately, his three girlfriends kept him well-fed and well-adjusted. His needs were met. It made him much calmer now. It's like this, Serafina began, her voice soft and gentle, her eyes betraying a hint of anxiety. My dance studio is about to go under, and the prize money can't save it. My daughter goes to school here in Rockford, so I was thinking I would just stay and be with her. Fearing he might doubt her abilities, she quickly added, "Don't worry, mister. Chun, I'm qualified. I have a master's in finance and a Ph.D. in dance from Seoul National University." "You're Korean?" Cole's curiosity grew. "My mother is Korean, my father is Chinese. I was born in China, but I went to Korea for university. Her father was also Chinese. He died in a car accident when she was 10. Serafina's voice grew heavy as she spoke. "Oh, I see." Cole didn't press the issue. Her qualifications were more than enough to join the company. However, he had other ideas about her position. "I'll give you two options. One, you could spend 3 months in a subdivision of the Business Development Center, and we'll decide your future placement based on your performance. 2, we can sign you as an influencer under Amy's studio, with full promotional support. If you build a solid foundation, you can choose to start your own independent studio later. The choice is yours." "Mr. Chun, I'll choose the second option," Serafina said with almost no hesitation. "Can I ask why?" I want to spend more time with her. If I were in the business center, I know I would be very busy in the future." After a pause, Serafina added apologetically, "I guess I'm not that ambitious. I'm sorry. It's fine. I offered 2 choices. There's nothing to be sorry about," Cole said with a wave of his hand. He turned to Yvonne, who was standing quietly nearby with her hands clasped in front of her. "Yvonne, could you get Amy for me?" "Oh, sure," Yvonne replied, but she didn't move. She just pulled out her phone to make the call. Cole knew she wouldn't leave the room. It didn't matter. Before the mother and daughter had arrived, he had turned on the tiny camera hidden in the potted plant in the corner. Just in case. He'd installed it a few days ago. The paranoid version of him from his past life had defended against and deployed plenty of dirty tricks. Caution had become a habit. He hadn't told anyone about it. Serafina maintained a slightly flustered demeanor, as if she were trying to appear confident despite her unease. She was subtly observing the office. The decor was decent, but not luxurious. It was tasteful. Unlike many CEOs, Cole didn't have a private bathroom or resting area attached to his office. Just a sofa and coffee table for guests. That probably meant he didn't have a habit of sleeping in his office or pulling his secretary inside to discuss work. Not necessarily, of course. Work could be discussed anywhere. She needed to observe more. To fully understand this man, she had to devise a targeted strategy. She was certain this Yvonne was guarding against her. So the target did have some defenses up, and she noticed that Mr. Chun himself hadn't once looked at her with any inappropriate gaze. That was strange. In her experience, no man could look at her, or rather, at her and her daughter together, without a flicker of desire. Even if they pretended to be gentlemen, lust would always flash in the depths of their eyes. There were only 2 explanations. 1, the man was impotent or possibly gay. 2, his disguise was simply better than most. There was no other possibility. No matter how well-fed a man was, his desires never truly diminished. If it was the second option, she would have to be more methodical. A man like this was calculating, rich, and had seen countless women. The usual temptations wouldn't work. She had to attack him psychologically. Showing skin was the lowest form of seduction, effective only on desperate men. Half hiding, half revealing worked on men who could only hide half their nature. But not showing anything at all. That was how you dealt with a man of depth. These men had high psychological needs. They liked cleanliness and restraint. They liked a woman who was tough on the outside and soft on the inside. They liked conquest, not handouts. The more a woman concealed, the more interested a man like this became. She had to appear weak, yet strong and hardworking. That was the best way to trigger his protective instincts. Serafina continued her subtle assessment. His clothes weren't luxury brands, but they were perfectly tailored. That was a woman's touch. Undoubtedly, one of the girls around him. But which one? Was it this Yvonne? She had studied the target's file and knew he was closest to 3 women, but she didn't know much about their personalities. At least, not in detail. Very few outsiders ever got close to them. Only this Yvonne, whose file described her as feisty and competent. She would not underestimate a woman who could serve as the VP of business development. That was another reason she hadn't chosen to join that department. Gina, in stark contrast to her mother, was bold. Her gaze swept directly over the target, up and down, a mixture of curiosity, admiration, appreciation, and a touch of arrogance. The rest was wariness. She projected the image of a slightly rebellious teenager who was attracted to handsome, successful men, her emotions pure and full of a desire to explore. But she also gave off the air of someone who didn't want to be a gold digger and was afraid of being deceived. "Do you just sit here every day?" she asked bluntly. "Huh? Is she talking to me?" Cole, who had been looking down at a document, was momentarily startled. He looked up and smiled. "Yes, Gina." Serafina frowned. "Don't bother, Mr. Chun. He's busy." "Oh," Gina said, sticking out her tongue and shrugging. She looked cute and obedient, but her expression held a hint of resentment toward her mother's scolding. It was clear to anyone watching that while she was a good girl, she had a rebellious streak. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Chun. I've spoiled her," Serafina said with an embarrassed apology. "It's no problem. This isn't a government office. She can speak her mind," Cole said with a wave of his hand. As long as it wasn't about his private life, he didn't care. A few moments later, Amy arrived. "Mr. Chun." "Amy, Serafina is all yours now. Show her the ropes," Cole said with a smile. "Got it, Mr. Chun. I'll teach her," Amy nodded. Cole turned back to Serafina. "Go with Amy. As of today, she's your supervisor. You'll still get the prize money, of course. Business is business." "Thank you, Mr. Chun." Serafina stood up and bowed gratefully. "Thank you so much." She tugged on Gina's arm. "Don't just stand there." Gina seemed to snap out of daze and quickly stood to offer her thanks. "Thank you, Mr. Chun." Her voice was girlish, and combined with her youthful face, it exuded a certain naive charm. Cole glanced at her, but his eyes were placid, showing no ripple of emotion. Was the mother-daughter taboo tempting? Yes, the thought had crossed his mind. But in his past life, social media was flooded with mother-daughter duos, real and fake, all dancing and posing. He was also a connoisseur of that particular brand of youthful charm. As a result, his resistance was quite high. Plus, with his sister-in-law and the girls keeping him well-fed, his needs weren't urgent. He wasn't seeing red, so desperate he'd start imagining things at the sight of keyhole. Serafina and Gina left. Yvonne closed the door and walked back over. "What's your plan keeping them around?" she asked. "Beat Drop needs more quality influencers. Dance is going to be one of our key themes," Cole said, not hiding his intentions. "What if people start talking? There are already some weird rumors online." Yvonne mentally spat at the thought. Netizens were so bizarre, they could turn anything into a joke. "It's not like we'll be seeing each other all the time. And I'm not exactly alone, am I? You were right here today. What if you send me away? And then, Can you be sent away?" "No. See? I was just asking. Go prepare your speech for the launch event." "Aren't you doing it?" "When did I ever say I was? I'm the big boss. Shouldn't I be commanding things from the rear?" "You're just being lazy. Is that any way to talk to your boss?" "It is now. What are you going to do about it?" "Fine. You win." "Umph. Coward," Yvonne muttered under her breath, a flicker of disappointment in her eyes. The taunt hadn't worked. He wasn't even picking up the folder anymore. She had been watching Serafina the whole time, and also watching Cole for any strange looks. To her satisfaction, he had been a perfect gentleman. The woman dressed like a lady, a complete 180 from her dance persona. She was probably one of those people who truly respected the art of dance. It didn't matter. As long as she didn't expose herself in front of Cole, it was fine. Then she heard Cole ask, "So what dance are you two doing? Wouldn't you like to know?" Yvonne said, still annoyed. She walked out without so much as a sway of her hips, leaving the door open behind her. Cole closed the door, walked over to the potted plant, and took out the camera. He turned it off and tossed it into the back of a drawer. He'd need it again the next time they met. That evening, in a hotel near the Creekside Galleria, Serafina was reporting her progress to her employer and making some demands. "The target is more difficult than anticipated. He doesn't suspect me, but he's showing no signs of falling into the trap. This is going to take longer than expected. The original price doesn't match the difficulty of the mission. How long it takes is not my concern. I hope you understand. That's your problem. Within 3 months, I need to be able to hear everything he says in his office at any time. If you can do that, I'll double the total price for this job. I also need you to figure out the personalities, habits, and true relationships of his VPs, and fast. If someone else poaches them, this part of the contract is void, and your payment will be reduced. You will be paid for each piece of valuable information you provide. If you can get him in your bed within 6 months, I'll add another 30% on top of the double price." Done. After hanging up, Serafina sat on the edge of the bed, lost in thought. Planting a bug within 3 months shouldn't be a problem. If it weren't for that Yvonne, she could have done it today. But figuring out the VPs was going to be tricky. Surface observations were useless. Rumors weren't reliable. She needed to interact with them personally. And that was the challenge. In her current position, she had almost no reason to. Gina walked out of the bathroom naked, wrapping a towel around her wet hair. "I have to go to school again," she complained. "I'm so sick of it. Next time, can I just be a high school dropout?" "What's wrong with school? Plenty of cute guys there. And the client spent a lot of money to get you enrolled," Serafina answered distractedly. Gina sat on the bed and started applying body lotion. After a moment of silence, she paused, a deep melancholy on her face. "This target is such high quality. I wish we could just stay here. Then we wouldn't have to deal with all those disgusting men anymore. Get those unrealistic thoughts out of your head," Serafina said coldly. "All men are the same. The only difference is when they finally show their true colors." "I know," Gina sighed. "I was just saying." When Serafina came out of the shower, they helped each other apply lotion to their backs. They lotioned the rest of their bodies themselves, making sure to get between their toes and all over their rears. It was a ritual that both maintained their bodies and left them with a faint, alluring scent. "Let's sleep. Go to the school tomorrow and show your face. And remember, no contact with any boys until the mission is complete." "Yeah, I know." To maintain peak mental condition, they never stayed up late. The next morning, after washing up, they spent nearly 2 hours on their facial routines alone. When they were done, they each applied a single drop of a specially formulated perfume to the side of their neck. The scent was very faint, but incredibly long-lasting. You could only catch a whiff of it if you were within 3 feet. They each used a different scent. Today, Serafina had to attend a training session to learn how to manage her influencer account. April was the rainy season in Rockford, and the downpour continued until the end of the month. The day of the launch event, April 30th, was no exception, marked by a persistent, gentle drizzle. Rockford Convention Center, the Lakeside Hall. This was the venue for the Beat Drop launch event. The seats were already full. Some of the journalists had been invited by headline today. Others had come uninvited. An arsenal of cameras and microphones was set up and ready. Over a dozen major tech companies had sent representatives. In the front row sat Cole, alongside Rockford's second-in-command for economic affairs, a state-level official, and a director from the FCC. The state official sat in the center. The core executives of Headline Today sat in the second row. Vanessa Fan was more low-key, wearing sunglasses and sitting between the girls, trying not to draw attention to herself. After all, her own father was in the front row. Spencer Chun sat with Wyatt and the other programmers, also wearing sunglasses to avoid being photographed. It wouldn't be good if his picture ended up online. Yvonne walked confidently onto the stage. Today, she wasn't wearing her usual business attire. Instead, she had on a black V-neck spring blouse and khaki wide-leg trousers. Her 5-centimeter brown heels were chic and mature. The ends of her hair were styled in fashionable waves. Her whole look was minimalist, exuding a crisp competence. At not even 23 years old, she already projected the aura of a powerful businesswoman. Many of the female journalists in the audience watched her with envy. Yvonne smiled, her voice clear and strong as she held the microphone. "Distinguished leaders, honored guests, welcome." In the audience, Serafina sat with Amy's team there to help out. B-Drop would be her main platform. She, too, envied the woman on stage. Opportunity truly makes the person. If this Yvonne were at any other company, she'd probably still be an assistant or maybe a secretary. But at Headline today, she was a force to be reckoned with. An ordinary girl her age couldn't possibly command such presence. She was truly one of Headline today's 4 great guardians, on equal footing with the head of R&D. And here she was, Serafina, forced to travel from place to place, playing different roles, dealing with hypocritical, lecherous men. While there was a certain satisfaction in playing them for fools and then turning the tables, it was nothing compared to standing openly on a grand stage like Yvonne. Serafina couldn't help but glance at the back of the young man's head in the front row. If only she'd been born a few years later. Maybe she too could have stood on that stage. But alas, fate was a cruel thing. The more commanding Yvonne appeared on stage, the more Serafina lamented the injustice of her own destiny. The launch was a great success. With government officials in attendance, no one dared to cause trouble. Cole sat calmly, lazily waiting for it to end. Sigh, the little female executive is growing up. I'll have to give her more responsibility from now on. Then, he heard Yvonne's voice from the stage. I know you were all very interested in the dance our mister. Chimp performed the other day, right? Right, the audience roared back playfully. Cole's brain short-circuited. That Yvonne, she's starting a rebellion. She was going to sell him out again for a little extra excitement. He did not want to dance again. Once was enough. So, how about we ask our mister Chin to come on stage and give us one more performance? What do you say? Yes. The cheering was deafening, the applause thunderous. Cole had no choice. He stood, gave a slight bow to the officials, then pointed an exasperated finger at Yvonne as he walked up to the stage. He took the microphone and smiled. Let me be clear, I'm not trying to show off. I really didn't expect our own VP Yvonne would stoop to using her boss as dessert to entertain the guests. The audience roared with laughter. Even the officials chuckled good-naturedly. Well, I'll make a fool of myself one more time. Don't blame me if my ugly performance makes you cry. Cole handed the microphone back to Yvonne, shooting her glare. Yvonne was fearless. She was used to Cole's empty threats. He never followed through. In front of all the officials, Cole shamelessly put on another sexy performance. It served as the grand finale of the launch event. After that came the official speeches from the leaders, which were much more formal. Once the event concluded, Cole escorted the state official to his car. The other leaders naturally followed. After the state official's car drove away, he saw the city official to his car as well, making sure not to leave anyone out. Yvonne drove her own car back to the company, giving Amy and Serafina a ride. As she glanced at the Audi carrying the 3 goddesses, she suddenly regretted buying her own car. Otherwise, she would have been in that one. Yvonne, you have such a powerful presence, Serafina said from the back seat, her voice full of genuine admiration. It's all for being pushed into it, Yvonne said, her mind elsewhere, her tone a little listless. You seem a little tired, Yvonne. Do you want me to drive? I have a license, Serafina offered with concern. It's fine, we're almost there. Cole, meanwhile, took the 3 girls out for a meal, dropped them back at their dorms, and then returned to the company. The moment he got to his office, he messaged Yvonne on Facebook, telling her to come in. This VP Yvonne needed a talking to. She hadn't even consulted him first. A moment later, he heard the familiar click-clack of high heels. Yvonne walked in and gently closed the door. She felt a strange flicker of fear. She hadn't been scared at the time, but now she was. Had he been genuinely angry that she'd ordered him around? But it was for the good of the company. She put on a business-like expression. Mr. Chun, you wanted to see me? Duh. What else would I call you in for? Cole rolled his eyes at her. Go sit down. I have something to say to you. Oh. Suddenly, Yvonne wasn't scared anymore. He wasn't angry. She didn't sit, but walked over to stand by his desk. Go on, I'm busy. Next time, you can't make me go up there and do that dance. I don't want to. Got it, Cole said, his face stern. Oh, so next time, you'll do stand-up comedy? Yvonne blinked, feigning innocence. Playing dumb with me, are you? Cole instinctively reached for a folder. Go on, hit me. Yvonne plopped onto his desk, propping one leg up and bouncing it. All you do is hit me. I work my butt off for you, and you still hit me, she whined. Oh, for crying out loud. Who's always hitting you? If anyone heard you, they'd get the wrong idea. Cole was exasperated. Now she was slandering him. But you do hit me. I'm going to report you to the Women's Federation. Yvonne pretended to wipe away tears. Hiss. Arf. Cole grabbed the folder and smacked her 3 times. Smack, smack, smack. You hit me with this again. It hurts. Yvonne clutched her rear, her face a mask of grievance. But her body was trembling, warm currents rushing through her veins to her heart. She had to force herself not to show her pleasure. Next time, I'll use a stick. Cole tossed the folder down. Use what? Yvonne started, then clamped her mouth shut, swallowing the word stick. That would be far too suggestive. She quickly changed her tune. You could just use your hand, just not the folder. It really hurts. The folder didn't hurt at all, but it wasn't comfortable. And you're sitting on the desk. What kind of behavior is that? Cole wasn't overthinking it. He gave her 2 quick slaps with his open hand. Smack, smack. You really hit me. You hit me again. Yvonne's nose wrinkled as if she were about to cry, but her face was a strange mix of tears and laughter. Well, you were acting like a mob enforcer collecting protection money, Cole said, pulling his hand back with an air of righteous dignity. The sensation was pretty good. You shouldn't do that anymore. It could get addictive. This Yvonne, she was too much. Fine. So you're saying I'm a mob enforcer. I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm leaving. Yvonne slid off the desk in a huff, her hips swaying like a corkscrew as she stormed out, forgetting to even close the door. The moment she was out of the office, her posture straightened. She practically floated down the hall, feeling light and exhilarated. So good. For the rest of the day, Yvonne was in a fantastic mood. The employees all noticed their VP's newfound warmth, assuming it was because of the successful launch. At 9 o'clock that night, Yvonne, fresh from a shower, was in the middle of her skincare routine when her phone rang. She answered it casually. Hello, Yvonne. My apologies for the late call. A man's voice came through the line. Hello, who is this? What can I do for you? Yvonne asked, dabbing cream on her face. I'm with a top executive search firm. Several Fortune 500 companies are very interested in you, and I was wondering if you might have time to chat tomorrow. Sorry, I'm busy these days. I don't have time to talk about that. Yvonne refused without a second thought. An executive search firm was just a headhunter. Yvonne, please don't be so quick to refuse. One of the offers is for a $1 million annual salary. Are you sure you're not interested? And that's not including stock options. Sorry, not interested. Thanks, though. Yvonne hung up. If this had been the old her, she would have jumped at $1 million salary. But now, she had other aspirations in life. Maybe, she thought with a mischievous grin, I'll go piss him off again tomorrow. Yvonne got dressed and ready to go out when her roommate Lily asked, Where are you going? It's the holiday weekend. Oh, I forgot, Yvonne said, stopping her tracks. The holiday. A pang of disappointment hit her. Time flew so fast. She didn't know when, but the long-awaited holiday had suddenly become something to endure. Didn't we make plans to go shopping? How could you forget? You've turned into a workaholic, her roommate complained. I didn't forget, Yvonne said with a dry laugh, tossing her bag back on the bed. Today was the only day she could go. Tomorrow, she had dance practice with Jasmine. That was a big deal. The only downside was that she wouldn't get to see him. Jasmine wouldn't let him come to their practices. It got too hot, and they all wore very little. Just then, the doorway darkened. Her other roommate, Xiaowen, who had been out on an internship, had returned. After a round of greetings, Xiaowen slumped into a chair. I'm exhausted. Interning is hell. I get bullied all day. The joint venture company is run like a family business. That's normal. You're the new person. There's always a breaking-in period, Yvonne said with a smile. Is headline like that? Xiaowen asked. Headline's okay. I haven't heard of any new hires getting bullied, but there's definitely an adjustment period. Yvonne couldn't guarantee it was perfect. Integrating new and old employees was always a process, no matter where you worked. I'm so jealous of you. You went in as a manager and just kept rising. TSK. Xiaowen sighed, her eyes full of envy. Then she added, but you are really capable. You deserve the promotions. I just got lucky. There are plenty of people more capable than me, Yvonne said, quickly shaking her head. She understood why this roommate was getting bullied. She probably couldn't keep her mouth shut. You really were lucky. Who knew that Colchin would blow up like that? Xiaowen was full of regret. She had also received the student government notice back then, but the thought of joining a brand new company had put her off. Who could have imagined it would become such a dark horse? Yvonne, who used to work part-time jobs all over the place, was now hosting press conferences in front of government officials. Yes, just lucky, Yvonne smiled. Her other roommate, Lily, chimed in. It's no surprise she seized the opportunity. She's a workaholic. We had plans to go shopping today, and she completely forgot. Shopping? I'll go too. Xiaowen's eyes lit up. Yvonne didn't mind. 2 was a shopping trip. 3 was also a shopping trip. That afternoon, exhausted from their excursion, the 3 of them went to a Starbucks at Xiaowen's suggestion. In those days, Starbucks was the go-to spot for artsy types, a place to project an air of sophistication. Few people were on their phones. Most had laptops open. They found a small table by the window, and each ordered a cappuccino. Yvonne noticed that as soon as they sat down, Xiaowen started texting frantically. Found a boyfriend? She asked jokingly. We just started talking. I don't know yet, Xiaowen said, casually putting her phone down and taking a sip of coffee. The three of them chatted about job prospects. Half an hour later, just as Yvonne was about to suggest they leave, a man's voice came from beside them. Hello, Xiaowen. Hello, ladies. Mati sitere. Yvonne looked up annoyed. It was a man in his 30s, dressed in a sharp suit, projecting the air of a successful professional. She looked at Xiaowen. This is a friend of mine. He was in the neighborhood and came to say hi, Xiaowen said, patting the chair next to her. Yvonne and Lily exchanged a look. Both saw the same displeasure in the other's eyes. When three girls are out shopping, why would you invite a boyfriend? It spoiled the dynamic. Hello, Yvonne, the man said, but instead of greeting Xiaowen, he extended his hand to Yvonne. He clearly knew who she was. And you are? Yvonne didn't move. Oh, huh. I'm a consultant with Apex Executive Search. I called you a few days ago, but you were probably busy and didn't pick up, the man said, retracting his hand without a hint of embarrassment. A few nearby tables glanced over. So young, and a VP? This has to be an act. Are they filming a TV show? Yvonne didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked at her roommate. Your friend is a headhunter, and he just happened to be in the neighborhood. It's just a coincidence. Being a headhunter is a normal job, Xiaowen said, her face a little unnatural. Yvonne sighed internally. Everyone walks their own path in life. It's normal for those paths to diverge. She gave Lily a look. Well, you two chat. We're gonna head out. Wait, Yvonne, I'll be direct. I came here to see you, the man said, finally revealing his true purpose. But I don't want to see you. I just want to go shopping. Yvonne signaled to Lily again. Let's go. Let Xiaowen and her friend enjoy their private time. Okay, Lily nodded. Yvonne, can you just give me 1 minute? I'll say my piece, and then I'll leave. I promise I won't bother you again. The man was getting anxious. It hadn't been easy to get a meeting with Yvonne. Don't bother. I'm not interested, Yvonne said, waving her hand and picking up her bag. Yvonne, a $3 million annual salary. Are you sure you're not interested? The man blurted out, dropping a bombshell. The surrounding customers were floored. 3 million? Is that for real? It's definitely an act. Someone with a $3 million salary would be a Starbucks? Shouldn't they be flying to Paris for coffee? Forgetting their own middle-class pretenses, they all stared at the group of four. Yvonne was stunned for a second, but she quickly snapped back to reality. A $3 million salary for her? Who were they kidding? The bait was too big to swallow. Even if she did, she'd choke on it. Once her mind was clear, she felt calm. She wasn't in a hurry to escape anymore. She shook her head peacefully. I'm sorry, but I'm not capable enough to command that kind of salary. You're being modest, Yvonne. Everyone knows you're the backbone of that company, the man said, flattering her. Then he added another chip to the pile. 0.8% equity, increasing annually. I can't tell you who the client is, but I can guarantee they're in the Fortune 100. Headhunting firms never revealed the client's name. It prevented direct contact between the parties. Even on targeted recruitment missions, they followed this rule. The other customers looked on in astonishment. Fortune 100? For real? As if Fortune 500 companies are just a dime a dozen. As if Fortune 500 companies are just a dime a dozen. Forgetting their own middle-class pretenses, they all stared at the group of four. Yvonne was stunned for a second, but she quickly snapped back to reality. A $3 million salary for her? Who were they kidding? The bait was too big to swallow. Even if she did, she'd choke on it. Once her mind was clear, she felt calm. She wasn't in a hurry to escape anymore. She shook her head peacefully. I'm sorry, but I'm not capable enough to command that kind of salary. You're being modest, Yvonne. Everyone knows you're the backbone of that company, the man said, flattering her. Then he added another chip to the pile. 0.8% equity, increasing annually. I can't tell you who the client is, but I can guarantee they're in the Fortune 100. Then I'm even less qualified. You're not going to close this deal, Yvonne said calmly, taking a sip of her cappuccino. She truly wasn't qualified. $3 million a year, plus 0.8% equity. What would they want in return? What had she, Yvonne, possibly done to deserve that? She'd never even see the kind of money, let alone get her hands on it. It was just a carrot dangling in front of her nose. Yvonne, if I may be blunt, you may be riding high right now, but you're actually in a very dangerous position. You just might not know it yet, the man said, a hint of urgency in his voice. This was a huge deal with a massive commission. As a senior headhunter, he didn't bother with small fry cases. But he didn't let it show, his face a mask of calm confidence. Oh, I'm in a dangerous position? How'd I not know? Yvonne smirked. They were both in sales. When it came to mind games, she wasn't afraid. I'm sure you understand the danger of outshining your master better than I do, the man said, a confident smile playing on his lips. So, if I go to another company, I won't be outshining anyone. Yvonne retorted. The man gave a suave laugh. It's different. That's a massive corporation, one that has room for a talent like you. But at this company, you've already stolen the boss's thunder. A young, hot-headed boss might not be so magnanimous. Stolen his thunder? I haven't heard anything about that, Yvonne said, feigning surprise. You might not be paying attention, but there are already rumors circulating. They say your boss was unhappy with you for taking matters into your own hands at the press conference, the man said, lowering his voice as if to protect her from prying ears. What? Rumors? Yvonne looked shocked, her brow furrowed as if she were suddenly worried about her situation. Inwardly, she was thinking, I'll have to do that again next time. For the good of the company, it's necessary to sell out Cole every now and then. Even Jasmine wasn't mad. As the soul of the company, Cole had a duty to make sacrifices. Yes, there's a post on Twitter that's been shared by a lot of people. You should take a look, the man said, nodding gravely. The company had spent a lot of effort creating that narrative. On Twitter, you could pay anyone to write anything. He thought she would at least be wary, but her next words left him stunned. Let them share it. The more shares, the better, Yvonne said with an air of indifference, even sounding boastful. So what if the boss is unhappy? The First Lady has no problem with it. So what's he going to do to me? The man's face was a canvas of confusion. So, arrogant? And who is the First Lady? Someone behind Cole? Could it be a family name? Yes, that must be it. Otherwise, how could a kid, not even out of his teens, build such a massive enterprise? He immediately concocted a dramatic backstory in his head of a secret, controlling shareholder. The confusion on his face slowly morphed into an expression of dawning realization. But whoever was backing Cole wasn't his problem. He still had a deal to close. I'm not talking to you anymore. I have to go. Lily, let's go, Yvonne said, grabbing her bag and standing up. Yvonne, wait. You are one step away from being a multi-millionaire. Why would you stay here and be a disposable tool? The man blurted out in a moment of desperation, playing his final card, exposing her current reality. Yvonne did, in fact, stop. The surrounding customers watched with smirks, sipping their iced coffees and enjoying the show. This was some high-quality drama. You're saying I'm a tool? Yvonne's expression hardened. Aren't you? Yvonne, from what I know, you carry the heaviest workload at your current company, but you get the least in return. The man also stood up, making his final push. Of all the female VPs, you're the one who works the hardest. But what's the result? You get the same as the others, maybe even less. It's not fair. Your boss is just using you. Using your personality, using your ambition. The man's voice was loud, silencing the entire Starbucks. Not just the baristas, but customers on the other side of the room turned to watch this real-life corporate drama unfold. A woman in her late 20s by the far wall recognized Yvonne. Her laptop was playing the Beat Drop launch event video. She nudged her companion. I think that's headline today's #1 enforcer. Her companion leaned in to look, then glanced back at Yvonne, comparing them. You're right, it is her. Seeing he had the entire room's attention, the man knew he had to strike while the iron was hot, to corner her into self-doubt. He declared passionately, Yvonne, you've hit the ceiling at your current company. Sooner or later, you'll be cast aside when you're no longer useful. A $3 million salary and equity are waiting for you, a much wider world to conquer. Why are you so determined to hang yourself on this one tree? All eyes were on Yvonne, waiting to hear her next line. The ones who recognized her were thrilled. Someone poaching headline today's talent in public. This is great. Yvonne just shook her head, a cold smile on her lips. You've really gone all out for this deal, haven't you? Fine. I'll put you out of your misery. I'll tell you right now, I love hanging myself on this one tree. How it ends is my business, and I'm perfectly happy with my choice. And another thing, you're not qualified to use these psychological tricks on me. That's not how you do it. You're too desperate. You may be my senior in age, but in business, you're this. Yvonne contemptuously held up her pinky finger. I hope your company is forgiving, she continued, because otherwise, you'll be the one heading off to a much wider world. Ignoring the headhunter's ugly expression, she turned to the anxious Xiaowen. Selling out my location for this? I don't need a roommate like you. We're done. With that, she and Lily walked straight out. Xiaowen's face was pale. Isn't a $3 million salary a good thing? The headhunter's lips moved, but no words came out. The deal was dead. Why wasn't she tempted by $3 million a year? It defied all logic. When he first heard the client's offer, he thought it was a guaranteed win. But now, he was starting to question his life choices. And the worst part was, he had no idea how he was going to explain this to his company. At the next table, the 30-something woman laughed out loud. "Hey, are you guys filming a show? Such dedication. What damn show?" The headhunter grumbled, stalking off with a foul look on his face. "Hey, what's with your attitude?" The woman muttered, annoyed. "It's not a show, it's real." "That girl was Yvonne from Headline Today," the woman in the corner called out. "Yvonne? Who's that?" the woman asked, unfamiliar with the name. "You don't know Headline Today? Or B-Drop? Check the trending topics." "Oh, it's her," another customer exclaimed, a look of awe on their face. Everyone in Rockford knew about the local company Headline Today, but most didn't know what the executives looked like. So young, and someone was offering her $3 million a year? Unbelievable. Driving away, Yvonne's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. The $3 million figure was just a fantasy, a pie in the sky. Anyone who believed it was an idiot. Well, the guy from the early days was a cautionary tale. She knew exactly what she was worth. Her hard work was undeniable, but the one who brought real value to Headline Today was him. Otherwise, why had the original headliner company failed? Why were the similar products from other tech giants lagging so far behind? Was it because they lacked management talent? Was it a lack of advertising? No, it was because they didn't have him. All this talk about shining the boss and unfair treatment was a joke. Her compensation was already excellent. Her office was the best in the company. And while they didn't have a physical relationship, he doted on her. Jasmine, the first lady, did too. You go to war for the person who believes in you. With a boss like that, what more could she ask for? A woman makes herself beautiful for the one who appreciates her. Well, that was a work in progress. Cole seemed like a playboy, but he had strong boundaries. Otherwise, with his looks and status, what girl in the company could have possibly escaped him? A soft smile touched Yvonne's lips. That was another reason she admired him so much. Cole's holiday weekend was incredibly boring. He spent the first day with the 3 girls, but with all 3 of them there, he couldn't. It left him burning with pent-up frustration. For the remaining 2 days, Jasmine told him to stay away. They had to practice their dance. Cole had no choice but to agree. He was curious to see what kind of secret dance they were preparing. They had so little time to practice. Using the holiday was their only option. It was all for him. He couldn't be a buzzkill. His screen displayed B-Drop's download data. It was impressive, much better than the launch of the original Headline Today app. The advertising blitz had started right after the press conference. As of today, downloads had already surpassed 10 million. It had only been a few days. The accounts for Headline, Slice, and B-Drop were all interconnected, which was very convenient. The 8-second creative music videos were a huge hit. If things went as expected, the other tech giants would soon follow suit. But it didn't matter. The Headline ecosystem would stay ahead of the curve. A knock sounded at the door, but no one entered. It was probably a department employee. "Come in." The director of the HR department's administrative division entered. "Mr. Chun," the documents Mr. Zhao sent over have arrived. "Great, thanks, Jessica. Just put them there," Cole said with a smile. "You're welcome, Mr. Chun." The director put down a thick file folder and left. Cole took a stack of contracts out of the folder. He selected one and read it carefully. After confirming everything was correct, he took out his dedicated contract seal and stamped it. Then he messaged Yvonne. A moment later, she walked in. "Mr. Chun." "Yep. Come on. Sign here, thumbprint here," Cole said, pushing a contract toward her. "What for? You're not firing me, are you?" Yvonne shot back out of habit, picking up the contract to read it. As she read, her eyes went wide. Equity Transfer Agreement Equity Recipient. Yvonne Equity Transfer. Cole Chun, sole shareholder of Headline Today Online Technology Co. Ltd. Transfer ratio, 1. 2% transfer method. Unconditional transfer, with all applicable taxes paid by the transfer. Sale condition. Can only be repurchased by shareholder Cole Chun at a 20% discount from the market price. "Mr. Chun, what are you doing?" Yvonne looked up, her voice trembling. 1.2%. It was too much. This wasn't Slice. Wasn't B-Drop. This was stock in the parent company, Headline Today. Just this one. 2% was already worth a staggering amount. The 2 investors in B-Drop had each put in $100 million for a small stake. And this wasn't just phantom stock, which stopped paying dividends after you left. This one, 2%, was permanent. Even if she quit, she could live off the dividends for the rest of her life. What was he doing? Sign it. What's wrong? Got a better offer? Cole said with a sly smile. He had seen the rumors online and the Twitter posts about how badass Yvonne had been at Starbucks. A true heroine. As a key player who had been with him from the start, 2% was appropriate. As long as she wanted to make money, she would never leave. As long as she wanted to make more money, she would work her ass off. This was the equity plan he had been working on for a while for the core founding members. With equity, their salaries wouldn't be as high. You couldn't have it both ways. Afterwards, it would all have to be officially registered. Yvonne didn't answer, her chest heaving. The shock was too much. Oh my God. Financial freedom. Who didn't love money? Especially money that came with security? But what made her even more emotional was that he trusted her this much. How could she ever repay him? You bastard. I mean, Mr. Chun. Yvonne stammered, her gaze a little dazed. What did you call me? Fine. Give it back. Cole feigned anger and reached for the contract. This Yvonne was getting out of control. Just as he thought that, Yvonne lunged. With the speed of a striking viper, she grabbed his head and started planting kisses all over his face. Hey, what are you doing? Let go. If someone sees this, I'm in big trouble. Cole tried to push her away, but she was holding on too tightly. He was afraid of hurting her, so he didn't use much force. Yvonne didn't care. She planted a dozen more kisses before finally letting go, her eyes shining. You bastard. I told you I was going to hang myself on this one tree. Look at me now. I'm hanging so well. Yes. Ha ha. She waved the contract in the air, jumping up and down in a fit of manic laughter, her high heels thumping against the floor. You're insane. Cole rolled his eyes. He noticed her lipstick was smeared and suddenly panicked. He quickly grabbed a tissue from his desk and started wiping his face. Sure enough, it was covered in red. Yvonne, you're going to be the death of me, he complained as he wiped. I have wipes. Let me get it for you. Yvonne stopped her frantic celebration and pulled a pack of wet wipes from her pocket. She carefully cleaned the lipstick marks from Cole's face. After she was done, she gave his cheek a final, possessive stroke. All gone. Hurry up and sign. And the thumbprint. Keep one copy. I know, you bastard. What did you call me? You bastard. Give it back. No, it's mine now. Are you mad? Go on, hit me. Yvonne quickly turned around and leaned over his desk, scrawling her signature. Her upturned rear was the picture of defiance. Cole couldn't resist reaching out his hand. He hesitated for a second, then let it fall. Just then, as if sensing his hesitation, Yvonne pushed her hips back slightly, a silent challenge. You can still back out now, you bastard, she taunted. Smack. Cole gave her a firm slap. Yvonne let out a muffled grunt, but didn't move. Her heart filled with joy. She pressed her thumb into the ink pad. Then, as if nothing had happened, she stood up straight, wiped the tear stains from her own face, and reapplied her lipstick. Mr. Chun, I'm going back to work. I'll leave the contract here for now. Yeah, go on. You'll keep it safe from me, right? Stop talking nonsense. Oomph. Yvonne sashayed out of the office, floating as if on a cloud. She smiled calmly at every employee who greeted her on the way. Back in her own office, she closed the door and sat down. For a long moment, she just stared into space. Then, suddenly, she collapsed on her desk and began to cry, muffling her sobs. She thought of herself studying so hard, working so desperately at part-time jobs. She thought of herself after joining Headline, practicing conversations in her dorm room, terrified she wouldn't be able to hold her own. All that running around. Now, she finally had a home. She had roots. Tears streamed down her face, a bittersweet mix of past struggles and overwhelming happiness. Meanwhile, Cole called in Fiona, Whitney, and Jenna one by one. Each of them was overjoyed, and each of them ended up crying and hugging him. Like the three girls, they each received 1%. But the girls' main stake was not in this company. He had other plans for them. Finally, he called in Wyatt, Marcus, and Leo. Mr. Chun, this is too much, Wyatt said, looking at the 8% on his contract, his voice thick with emotion. His junior's generosity was incredible. He had the largest share among the founding members. He had expected maybe 2% or so. He never imagined it would be this much. Sign it, Wyatt. Without your hard work, there would be no Headline today, Cole said, extending his hand solemnly. We breathe the same air, share the same fate. Let's build a better future together. Mr. Chun, meeting you is the luckiest day of my life, Wyatt said, gripping Cole's hand, his eyes turning red. He knew he wasn't cut out for the market side of things. His passion was in research. Without Cole, he would have just become another software engineer after graduation. If he was lucky, he might have developed his own product. If not, he'd just be another old programmer climbing the corporate ladder. The feeling is mutual, Wyatt. Having you is my good fortune too. The two men embraced. Marcus and Leo each got 2%. They were so excited they hooped and hollered, grabbing Cole's head and planting kisses on his forehead. Jenna from Slice Video getting 1% was also more than enough. She was committed to Slice and would share in its profits. The three girls had classes this afternoon. They could sign their contracts tomorrow. They each had 2 to sign, anyway. Late that night, Eastwood University Law School, women's dormitory. Serena's body jolted. She woke up with a start, tears streaming down her face. She couldn't control the sobs that escaped her lips. "Cole," she whimpered, staring blankly at the dark ceiling. After a moment, she realized it had been a dream, but she could hardly believe it. She touched her own neck, and only when she was certain she was in her dorm room did her heart begin to calm down. It was a dream. It was really a dream. Thank God. It was terrifying. It was the first nightmare she'd ever had in her life. The images were still vivid, as if they had really happened. She had dreamed that she believed her mother. Her mother and father had a fight, and her mother ran off to D.C., claiming she was gravely ill. Serena, her heart soft, had gone to see her, but she was locked up, forbidden from returning to school. She couldn't even see her father. Then the news broke. Her Cole had been in a car accident. His car was crushed between 2 semi-trucks. He and Jasmine were gone, instantly. Luna had jumped from the 32nd floor half an hour later. The scene flashed forward. Her mother was arrested, dragging her 2 uncles down with her. In the dream, there was no sense of time. It could have been a day or 2 later, or the very next moment. Her mother confessed that someone had given her the idea that she had lost her mind. Overcome with grief, Serena had used a shard of broken glass to slice her own throat, right in front of her mother. And then she woke up. It was horrifying. Her heart was still pounding. Even though it was a dream, the psychological impact was so powerful she couldn't shake it. Let the sun come up soon, she prayed. If she wasn't worried about waking her roommates, she would have gotten up right then and run to find her Cole. "Morning, Cole." "Hey, man. Cole, morning. Morning." As Cole left his dorm, he was greeted by a steady stream of students. The whole building knew that Cole Chun, the CEO of Headline Today, still lived on campus. Cole didn't really have a choice. At this point, there weren't any decent housing developments nearby, mostly older walk-up apartments. The exclusive, gated communities with their sprawling villas were too far out, ghost towns on weekdays. Eastwood University was closest to the Creekside Galleria, making the commute convenient. Besides, his 3 babies still had classes. Living too far away was impractical. If they all moved into his place at the Golden Bay residences, the apartment would feel cramped. And buying 3 separate places was pointless. They'd all just end up squeezing into one house anyway, so they preferred to stay put. He'd just have to tough it out. In a year or 2, new developments would pop up. Or maybe, just maybe, Headline Today would relocate its headquarters. Stepping out of the building, he was surprised to see the campus queen herself perched on the edge of a planter. "Cole!" Serena launched herself into his arms. "What's wrong, baby?" Cole caught her, his arms wrapping around her fully. Her dark hair, freshly washed that morning, smelled fragrant and clean. It was strange. Why was she waiting for him here so early? "I had a nightmare. It was so scary." Serena clung to him tightly, as if afraid he'd disappear if she let go. It's okay. I'm here," Cole murmured, gently stroking her slender back. This was the first time he'd ever heard her mention a nightmare. They stood there in a quiet embrace, oblivious to the students coming and going from the dorm. Cole massaged the nape of her neck with just the right amount of pressure, patting her back like he was soothing a child. The students who passed by shot them envious glances but didn't dare say a word. By now, everyone on campus knew about the 4 guardians of Headline Today. The girls were happy, so what could anyone say? No one had the heart, or the nerve, to suggest Cole should, for morality's sake, let one of them go. After a long moment, Cole kissed her on the forehead. "Let's get some breakfast, and then you can tell me all about it." Okay. On the way to Oakwood Commons, Cole finally learned what had terrified her. In her dream, he had died. A horrible, gruesome death. There was nothing left of him. "Baby, it was just a dream. Don't be scared." He held her small hand, comforting her, but he was careful not to make any flippant promises. His expression remained calm, but inside, he was startled. Could she have been reborn too? He considered it for a moment, then dismissed the idea. Her dream was fragmented, nonsensical, a pure dream. Perhaps she had picked up on something, and her subconscious had pieced together some grim associations. Cole probed gently. "Baby, have you talked to your parents recently?" "Yeah," Serena said honestly. "Mom called. She said Dad's been in a bad mood lately, and they even argued a little. She, too, had made the connection, figuring her own anxieties had fueled the nightmare. They never fight, she added, her voice dropping. But now they are. It's probably because of me. Arguments are a normal part of life, Cole said, deliberately blurring the lines. Sometimes they can even bring people closer. He knew there were different kinds of arguments, but Serena was too pure to be burdened with such cynical thoughts. He added, they're both calm, rational people. They probably got over it as soon as it was done. Don't worry, baby. Serena murmured, rubbing her cheek against his arm. But a shadow of doubt remained. She didn't tell him about the part of the dream where her mother, swayed by someone else's words, made a terrible mistake. She was afraid it would make Cole hate her mother even more. But she knew her mother all too well. Helen Shun was a woman who had been coddled her entire life. She might not do something as drastic as what happened in the dream, but she was certainly capable of getting a muddled idea and trying to interfere. The implications of that were enormous. Her mother was just a district school administrator with no real power of her own. She would inevitably have to leverage the Shun family's influence. Serena knew she had to stay vigilant, to keep a close eye on things. But God, it was exhausting. Meanwhile, in Linden Creek, at the district apartments. David, can you find some time these next couple of days to stop by the Yang's factory? Talk to Cole's mother, Helen said, stopping her husband as he was heading out the door. What is there to talk about? David Shun grumbled, changing his shoes. For us to go to them like this. What does that even look like? Is it appropriate, given my position? Appropriate or not, you have to try. Otherwise, things will look even worse. The rumors are everywhere. Some nonsense about 4 fairy guardians. Where am I supposed to put my face? People at work are already starting to laugh at me, Helen complained, her face a mask of displeasure. Who's spreading rumors? Laughing about what? David was dismissive. Serena is a senior executive now. That's a good thing. People are just jealous. He was far more interested in the rapid growth of Cole's companies. From a political or a business standpoint, it was a phenomenon worth studying. Fine, then I'll go talk to Mrs. She myself, Helen said, her expression hardening. I don't want anything else. I just want her to tell her son to stay away from Serena. Don't you dare. Absolutely not. David's eyes narrowed. That would be truly inappropriate. You're a leader in your own right. What would people think of you if you did that? I don't want to, but look at Serena now. She's quit all her clubs, she's distracted from her studies, and she's tangled up with that boy. The Shun family's reputation is in tatters. So, she quit her clubs. So what? How is she distracted? Isn't Serena doing just fine? What reputation? It's not our place to worry about her love life. She has her own ideas. You saw her when she came home for the holidays. She's fine. His company is a major internet enterprise now, and Serena is a top executive. Everything is fine, Helen. There's really no need to complicate things. I'm not trying to complicate things. Have you ever thought about it? He's built this massive company, all by himself, with so much money involved. It's a recipe for disaster, Helen said, trying to explain her reasoning. What kind of disaster? David replied, nonchalantly. Then, a realization dawned on him. He looked at her seriously. Wait a minute, Helen. Who's been telling you this? What do you mean, who told me? A flicker of something unreadable crossed Helen's eyes. Telling you that a sole proprietorship with that much money is bound to run into trouble, David repeated, his tone serious. Nobody told me. Isn't it just common sense? People are greedy. He's so young, and he's paying so much in taxes. Do you think he's happy about that? It's only a matter of time before something goes wrong. Helen moved closer to her husband and whispered, he made all that money so quickly. Is it possible he bribed someone? That he has a powerful backer? Or engaged in unfair competition? You can't deny it's possible. If that gets out, just think of the consequences. Helen, David looked at her, his expression complex. He wanted to say more, but held back. He already suspected what was happening. Someone was feeding his wife these ideas. If that was the case, things were far more complicated than they seemed. His wife wasn't a foolish woman, but when it came to their daughter, she was stuck in a dead end. And that was dangerous. He paused, then said, I'm heading to work. We can discuss this when I get back. But please do not go see Mrs. Shun. Don't make things difficult for our daughter. Fine. I'll wait for you to get back, Helen agreed. David opened the door, then turned back, still uneasy. Remember, Helen, don't go. Fine, I know. The moment her husband's figure disappeared, the thought resurfaced in Helen's mind. She mulled it over, hesitating again and again. In the end, she abandoned the idea. A district administrator going to a teacher to discuss their children. It really wasn't right. Downstairs, David Shun's face was grim. Someone was deliberately feeding his wife these ideas. What was their ultimate goal? The world of adults was never simple, especially not in politics. An enemy could come from any direction. It could be a rival of the shunned family. It could be one of his own. Or perhaps it was a move from the business world. If it were a business rival, that would be easy enough to handle. He could counter their moves as they came. If it were one of his enemies, the worst that could happen was that he'd be forced out of his position. He would still be David Shun, a son of the Shun family. But if it was the first possibility, a political attack on the family, that was truly dangerous. The higher one climbed, the less one could afford even the smallest stain on their record. Trying to cover it up would only make things worse. High-level players orchestrated their attacks in a series of interconnected moves, a relentless assault. But as long as his wife did nothing, the danger didn't exist. Clearly, the other party was trying to use his wife to egg her on. David, who came from a business family and had been in politics for years, thought things through from every angle. He went to work with a heavy heart, still try to figure out how to neutralize this hidden threat. An hour later, Helen finished her meeting and returned to her office. A woman appeared at the door, knocked, and then walked in. "Helen, a relative sent me some homemade floral tea. The leaves are all homegrown. You should try some." The woman was in her 40s, with fair skin, wavy hair, and a prosperous air about her. She placed a glass jar on the desk, filled with what was indeed floral tea. "All right, have a seat. What brings you here today?" Helen gestured to a chair. The woman was the wife of a processing plant owner in Rockford. She was originally from Linden Creek and had family members who were teachers. Her own child had attended school in Linden Creek before. They had met by chance at an education conference and had grown familiar over time. "Oh, nothing special. I was just passing by and thought I'd pop in to see you," the woman said, her tone a mix of familiarity and politeness. They chatted idly, and eventually, the conversation turned to their children. "There's no hope for my boy," the woman sighed. "He's dating. I try to talk to him, but he won't listen." "Your son must be 19 by now, right?" "There's nothing wrong with dating," Helen offered, vaguely aware of the situation. "It's still too early. I was 22 when I met my husband," the woman said, shaking her head. "I was hoping to give him a push in the right direction, but now his mind is completely elsewhere. It's hopeless. I've given up." Helen's lips moved, but she said nothing. She was thinking of her own daughter. The woman continued, "It's better to have a daughter. They're less trouble. Helen, your daughter is a role model. A top university, a high-level executive before she even graduates. I guess that's just a dream for me now. She's not exactly trouble-free herself." Helen couldn't help but sigh in response. "You call that not trouble-free? You should be counting your blessings," the woman said, surprised. The woman's surprise deepened. She glanced at the door, walked over, and closed it. Returning to Helen's desk, she lowered her voice. "If you ask me, you shouldn't pay any attention to those rumors. It's all just jealousy. But there is one thing I think you should seriously consider. You need to maintain a certain distance. That kind of company is high risk. You can't let your daughter get dragged down. If something were to happen, Mr. Shun would be affected too, don't you think?" Helen's eyes flashed. "Kids these days, once they're grown up, you can't control them. I'll just let her be. My son is the one who's out of control. Your daughter is obedient. There's still hope. But obedient girls are easily deceived. You still have to keep an eye on her." The woman's face was a mask of concern. If they're really dating, then they should make the relationship official. If they don't, it really doesn't look good, especially given your and Mr. Shun's positions. You know how people with loose tongues are, they'll spread anything. "There's nothing to make official," Helen said, waving her hand dismissively. The woman leaned in closer, her voice conspiratorial. "I heard it from my son. People are talking about it online. That company's boss is involved with several girls. It's seriously damaging your daughter's reputation. If he just made it official with one of them, the rumors would die down on their own. I don't know how his parents raised him. It's strange, isn't it? His family seems pretty ordinary. How'd he manage all this? I just can't figure it out." The woman seemed to say nothing, yet she had said everything. Helen, of course, understood the implication. She knew the woman was suggesting she could go to the Chun family. She was also hinting at the risks involved. But her own obsession had lowered her guard. The reason she'd wanted to go to the Chins that morning was for this very purpose, to have the parents make the demand. But her husband had refused. Her daughter was still whole, yes, but time was running out. Then she heard the woman say, almost apologetically, "I'm just worrying for nothing. I can't even control my own kid." "Helen, don't take it to heart. Actually, the way things are now is pretty good. It's a big company, after all. If there were no risks, it would be even better." "Let's not talk about this anymore," Helen said with a slight smile, shutting down the conversation. But some of the woman's words stuck with her. It was true. If Cole, made the relationship official, there wouldn't be so many rumors. The company was huge, its growth almost unbelievably fast. Who knew what kind of problems lay beneath the surface? Normally, didn't it take time for a company to build up? If her daughter were to go into politics, she absolutely had to stay away from this kind of risk. But if he made it official with her daughter, she could hold her nose and accept it. But it had to be clean, no other women hanging around. If he refused, well, that would give her a reason to act. Even so, the thought of it made her uncomfortable. Business, in the end, was a lesser path, unless the boy gave up business for politics. But even she knew that was impossible. In Rockford, the weather was clear and bright. "Cole, this is so much," Serena exclaimed, sitting sideways on his lap as she stared at the 2 contracts in her hands. "Sign them," Cole said, gently pinching her rosy cheek. "They're a symbol of our shared battle." One contract was for a 1% stake in Headline Today. The other was far more complex, a 5% stake in the offshore parent company. Cole had tasked his high-powered lawyer, Mr. Zhao, with the critical project. The offshore company had been renamed Rhythm Group, Inc., with Cole as the sole shareholder. He then established a subsidiary in a tax-friendly jurisdiction, hiring a semi-retired manager and a few clerks to hold down the fort. Using this subsidiary, he set up another company on the mainland, named Headline Vision, Ltd. This new company had no external business. Its sole purpose was to be the parent company of Headline Today. Through a share pledge agreement, Headline Today was now controlled by Headline Vision. This structure, known as a VIE, variable interest entity, was used by many major tech giants. It meant that even if a CEO stepped down, they still held the real power. They could remove any chairman at will. Slice Video and BeatDrop were, in turn, controlled by Headline Today. It formed a chain of command. The video platforms, GlowUp, and Oracle QA were all controlled by Headline Today. Headline Today was controlled by Headline Vision. Headline Vision was controlled by the international subsidiary. And the international subsidiary was controlled by the offshore parent company, Rhythm Group. All profits would flow up to Rhythm Group. In the future, no matter how many companies or projects Headline Today invested in, the ultimate controlling party would be one person, Cole Chen himself. The most crucial part was that the shareholders of the offshore company were confidential. That it didn't need to be disclosed. No one would ever know who the true owners were. And because it was essentially a foreign-invested company, it enjoyed various policy benefits, maximizing profits. In a way, Headline Today was now a foreign company, even though he was the one behind it. Of course, all these shares came with a fundamental condition. They could only be sold back to Cole. This was the primary protective principle. In the future, he planned to allow other core executives to buy shares in Rhythm Group at a low price, but not yet. Even Vanessa Fan and Spencer Chun could be given a chance to buy in. The core team, the core shareholders, and Cole would control it together, but Cole would remain the principal. Such a structure was more stable, forming a tightly knit community of interests that could never be broken. When you have enough money to last 10 lifetimes, money itself loses its meaning. Maintaining stability and continuity becomes the priority. Cole had tasked Mr. Zhao with this matter since the end of last year, and it had only recently been fully completed. Serena understood exactly what that 5% stake was worth. At a simple valuation, if Headline Today became a $10 billion company, her stake would be worth $500 million. And according to Luna, they were already getting close. If it became a $100 billion company, her stake would be $50 billion. In reality, it was worth far more. She didn't care much about the value itself. It was more money than she could ever use. But as a gift from Cole, its meaning was immense. It represented absolute trust. Serena didn't hesitate. She signed her name, put the contract down, and wrapped her arms around Cole's neck, resting her head on his chest in quiet contentment. From this moment on, her destiny was completely intertwined with his. "Cole," she murmured, "you can't work so hard forever. You can't earn all the money in the world. Don't worry. We'll retire early and enjoy life," Cole said, nibbling on her delicate, pale earlobe. The sensation sent a shiver through her. She tilted her head up, stroking his chin. "Okay, we'll travel, see the world. Okay, and we'll take our little baby with us." Serena's face flushed, her eyes shimmering like water. She knew how babies were made, in theory, but had no experience. She couldn't even imagine it. "Okay, we'll have two," Cole said, giving her pert bottom a playful pat. "Huh, two? My belly will get so big, won't it?" Serena's face was a picture of surprise, yet filled with anticipation. "Only with twins. Are you scared? A little, but it's okay. Serena seemed to warm to the idea. She shifted, kneeling in the gap of the large office chair, and draped her arms around his neck, asking sweetly, "What if they're crying and fussing around me all day? We can hire a nanny." No, I'd rather not. It's more personal if we raise them ourselves. We can hire a nanny to cook, though. I can't cook. Well then, baby, when are we going to have our little baby? Cole asked with a wicked grin. I don't know. You're terrible. I know what you're thinking. Serena buried her face in the crook of his neck, suddenly shy. A fuzzy image flashed through her mind. Oh, I can't think about that. It's so embarrassing. More embarrassing than the things Cole already did. Are you thinking about it? Cole teased with a grin. I don't know. I'm not telling you. Serena squirmed, her denial a clear affirmation. Then she pressed her lips close to his ear and whispered, exhaling warmly, yes. Her voice was soft and sweet. She really did wanna. Jasmine and Luna had both experienced that. But she hadn't. If it weren't for the fact that Cole still doted on her, she might have thought he'd grown tired of her. Besides, she was curious. Those two seemed to glow more and more. What was the magic behind it? Cole let out a deliberate sigh. But, your uncle told me to behave myself. What are we going to do? Sigh. I don't care. I want to. Serena protested, wiggling her body. But, you villain, you're doing this on purpose. Yes, baby, I am. Cole leaned down and found her small mouth. You're at work. He kissed her for a long time before finally letting her go. He had to stop. Jasmine and the little one would be here soon. He had two of his female bodyguards escort a reluctant Serena back to her dorm. Not long after, Luna arrived. She didn't even glance at the contracts. Brother, I don't want this. You have to. You must sign. Cole pulled her into his lap. Okay. Luna didn't bother to read what was written. It was just stocks or something. Since everyone was getting them, she might as well sign. The moment she pressed her thumbprint onto the paper, she melted into his arms. While she was making her impression, he was making his hands playing with a masterpiece. You can't, brother. Jasmine will be here soon. Oh, Cole reluctantly stopped. He was an artist, and he truly couldn't get enough of such a magnificent work of art. The little one had to get back to class. Sometimes her advanced finance courses were packed together, and she couldn't miss them, or it would affect her foundational knowledge. She didn't go to the evening study sessions, opting instead to go to the library with Brianna and Felicity. About 15 minutes after Luna left, Jasmine arrived. Without a word, she signed the documents with 2 swift strokes of the pen. It all belonged to her boy anyway. Cole tried to reach out a mischievous hand, but Jasmine stopped him with a single finger to his forehead. She feigned annoyance. Let me rest. My legs are killing me from dance practice these last 2 days. Her stamina was good, but she was no match for her ravenous younger brother. He was completely untamed. She couldn't let him touch her. If he did, she'd want it. And too much of a good thing was bad for you. It drained the body. It would make her age faster. What woman wasn't afraid of getting old? What if he lost interest? Moderation, she reasoned, could actually increase her appeal, keeping him firmly hooked. Okay, sis, Cole agreed obediently, his mind already scheming other plans. That evening, at the Eastwood University School of Law, after class, Serena quickly showered, changed into a beautiful dress, and threw on a light jacket, ready to go out for dinner with Cole. She was both excited and nervous. Tonight, he was definitely going to hang her up. She was so looking forward to it. Her phone rang. Seeing it was her mother, her mood instantly plummeted. A familiar sense of oppression washed over her. She didn't know when it started, but she'd begun to dread her mother's calls, afraid of hearing that pressuring tone. Still, she answered. Hello, Mom. Serena, have you eaten yet? Not yet. I'm about to go. Okay, I have something to tell you. What is it, Mom? Serena's heart tightened. It's about you and Cole. I've thought it over. I approve of you two being together. Her mother's words stunned her. Did Mom really just say that? A wave of ecstatic joy washed over her. Thank you, Mom. You're the best. I love you. Of course I want you to be happy. Mom, I will be happy. Thank you so much. The huge weight on Serena's heart seemed to vanish, leaving her feeling light and free. Who didn't want their family's blessing on their relationship? Serena, there's one more thing. I need you to tell Cole something for me. Okay, what is it? I want him to publicly announce his relationship with you. The words fell on Serena like a bucket of ice water. Of course, she wanted him to go public. But her rational mind screamed, impossible. Things had progressed too far. It wasn't something that could be done just because they wanted to, at least not now. Headline today was in a critical growth phase. Its rhythm couldn't be disrupted by personal drama. She knew Cole. He would never do it. It would be unfair to Jasmine and Luna, effectively turning them into mistresses. If Cole publicly declared his relationship with any one of them, the other two would be cast into the shadows, forced to watch the one in the light, their hearts inevitably filled with resentment. How could they endure that over time? Moreover, Cole would then be under constant public scrutiny, no longer able to stand openly with the other girls. He couldn't exactly announce he had 3 girlfriends. Some things could exist, but they couldn't be flaunted. People might tacitly accept it, but they wouldn't tolerate it being paraded around. There were gains and there were losses. Jasmine and Luna had already made their choice. If Jasmine could do it, then she, Serena Shun, had to as well. To do otherwise would inevitably fracture her relationship with Cole, and that was something she would rather die than allow. It was obvious. Her mother was playing a game of tactical retreat. The demand was still, in essence, a form of coercion. Mom, let's wait on this for a bit. Headline is so busy right now, he has so much on his plate. Serena, is it that he can't do it? Or is he really dating several girls at once? Mom, Serena, I'm not trying to criticize you. I just want to give you a little warning. Do you know what will happen to you if this continues? You'll be abandoned. You'll end up with nothing. Your salary is good now, but that's just temporary. Our family doesn't need the money. No matter how much Headline Today makes, it's his, not yours. Do you understand that fundamental truth? If he can't even make your relationship public, then he's not serious about you. If he truly loved you, he would be willing to do anything for you. If he's willing to go public, I won't have any objections. Mom, you don't know him. He's given me so much. More than you can even imagine. Serena was about to mention the shares, but stopped herself. She could tell her father, but not her mother, at least not yet. Her mother was overly rational at times, and yet completely irrational at others, more like a child than her. A few $100,000 a year? How can I not imagine that? It's not that much. It's not like he's going to make you a shareholder. Serena, wake up. End this now. Unless he's willing to go public. Mom, you don't understand. I can't leave him. Not even if I die, Serena murmured. I am a shareholder. A major one. Serena's heart grew calm again, no longer swayed by her initial excitement. She hadn't forgotten the fragments of her dream. Have you lost your mind? Her mother's voice boomed through the phone. Already told you. If he goes public, I'll agree. Why are you so stubborn? Do you know what you are? Follow him around like this? You're nothing. If he ever goes public with one of those other girls, you'll be the mistress. Do you understand? Mom, I haven't lost my mind. On the contrary, I am perfectly calm. And you, Mom, you need to calm down too. Serena slowly walked out of her dorm room and onto the corridor balcony. The campus at dusk was filled with vibrant, energetic students. Standing there, no one disturbed her. Her mother's voice continued from the phone. I am calm. Serena, have you ever thought about your father and me? About the Shun family? About our side of the family? If you continue this ambiguous relationship, it will have a huge impact on everyone. Do you understand? Mom, you left someone out of your list, Serena said, a bitter smile touching her lips. I didn't leave anyone out. Everyone will be affected because of you. Serena cut her off before she could finish her stubborn declaration. You left out me, Mom. I didn't. Helen fell silent. Mom, it's my life. Is it so wrong for me to think about myself for once? Serena asked quietly. Is that what you're doing? Thinking for yourself? You're running into a dead end, and you don't even know what you're doing. Her mother's voice was filled with frustration. Mom, the one in the dead end is you. You just can't see it. Serena's gaze sharpened. Arguing was exhausting, but if winning was the only way to solve this, then she would debate. I've eaten more salt than you've eaten rice. And now you're lecturing me? You can't even think through the consequences of a single action. How can you possibly live your own life well? Mom, is it possible that you haven't eaten more salt, but that you've eaten too much sugar? How dare you talk to your mother like that? Her mother's voice grew angry. I'm doing this for your own good. Why can't you understand? If you want what's good for me, then let me choose my own destiny. I will be responsible for my own choices. You can't choose. You don't have a choice. Her mother's voice suddenly became shrill. You were born into the Shun family. You enjoyed a privileged upbringing, and you must bear the responsibility of continuing our legacy. Mom, you're talking about yourself. And Grandpa never asked you to bear any responsibility. Serena's mind grew even clearer. The Shuns don't just have me, and they certainly don't need me to carry any legacy. The only thing I'm carrying is your unfulfilled ambition. And besides, the future of the Shun family will depend on him. Do you understand that, Mom? I'm not going to argue with you anymore. Either he makes your relationship public, or you cut ties completely. No more involvement. Otherwise what? Are you threatening your own daughter, Mom? Serena took a deep breath. The other end of the line fell silent. Serena didn't know if it was a tacit admission or if her mother realized she'd gone too far. Serena exhaled slowly. Mom, there are some things a daughter shouldn't say, but I have to. Your life has been too perfect. So perfect that you've started to regret the choices you made. It's not your place to lecture me. Just listen to me finish. Serena suddenly shouted, startled by her usually soft-spoken daughter. The other end of the line went quiet. That photo album at home, it's full of pictures of you and Dad traveling everywhere. While I was at Grandpa's, you showed me pictures of yourself as a teenager. You were so young, smiling so happily, making peace signs. And me? The only places I ever went were the youth palace and the zoo. I've forgotten how many times. I have pictures too. I'm smiling in them. Take them out. Compare your smile and my smile. Grandpa and my uncles all doted on you. After you got married, Dad indulged you, spoiled you. Your entire life has been spent in a honeypot. And me? Every time I went out, it felt like being let out of a cage. Last October was the first time I ever saw the ocean. And you? You were tired of it by the time you were my age. The other end of the phone was silent, only the sound of breathing. Serena's gaze was deep, as if she were seeing memories play out before her. You kept telling me what to do, and I did it all. But you've lived half your life in comfort, and now you want me to walk the path you chose not to take. You want to add another dazzling halo to your perfect life. Do you think that's fair? What do you take me for? Serena's words were practically an accusation, piercing through to the excessive greed deep within her mother's heart. She continued, if it were you, could you be like me, obediently doing as you're told every single day? No, you couldn't. You probably would have gone mad from the pressure. You wouldn't even try to see it from my perspective, because in your heart, there's only room for yourself. Serena's eyes were calm, as if she were narrating a story that had nothing to do with her. Serena, you might have some misunderstandings about me. Serena paid her no mind, cutting her off. Mom, it's a good thing you didn't choose that path. You're not suited for it all. Have you ever considered that this is the real reason Grandpa agreed to let you marry Dad? You're too self-centered. That's a cardinal sin for a public servant. One careless step, and you'd fall into a trap. That's enough. Don't say any more. The voice on the other end of the line sounded as if a raw nerve had been struck. Mom, I'm not finished. You have to stay calm. Don't do anything foolish. Once some things are done, there's no turning back. Think about Dad, your brothers, and Grandpa. Do you want them to be dragged down by you? I'm grown up now. I have the right to choose my own life. I just hope you can peacefully accept it. Stop pressuring me. Stop trying to control me. Mom, your life is already incredibly happy. To ask for more is to lose sight of what's important. Let go of your resentment and your ambition. Live a good life with Dad. If you can, I still hope for your blessing. If not, I won't beg for it. I understand that you can't have everything in life. Mom, can you understand? Without waiting for her silent mother to respond, Serena gently hung up the phone. She leaned on the balcony railing, gazing into the distance. The calm she had felt moments ago was now turbulent. She was, after all, her mother. She hadn't wanted to be so blunt. It felt good to get it all out, but the pain that came with it was just as real. The mood for making babies was gone, but her desire to see Cole was stronger than ever. Before that, though, there was something important she needed to do. In Linden Creek, at the district apartments, Helen sat in a daze, her phone lying on the floor. Her daughter's attitude had been so calm, not emotional like last time. But that was worse. It meant her daughter's resolve had hardened. Why? Going public was to Serena's advantage. Didn't she want to fight for it? Was she a fool? Her daughter's words, though not sharp, had pierced her heart. Recalling the past, she had to admit she had been a bit too controlling. But another voice inside her denied it all, instinctively refusing to admit she controlled her daughter. Was it wrong to want what's best for your child? Yet, thinking about how her daughter truly didn't have the same freedom she'd had, she felt a pang of guilt. Regret and selfish desire warred within her soul, tearing her apart. At that moment, in the cafeteria of the Rockford Municipal Government Building, David Shun had just taken a few bites of his meal when his phone rang. Hello, Serena. Dad, Mom just called me. I'm a little worried. What happened? David put down his chopsticks. It was the first time his daughter had called him with such a serious tone. It's like this. I'm worried Mom will do something she can't take back. Okay, Dad understands. Don't worry. Dad, there's one more thing. Cole gave me 1% of Headline Today's shares and 5% of the parent company's shares. I haven't told Mom about this. Oh, okay, Dad understands. After hanging up, David Shin stared at his bowl of rice, motionless. 1% of Headline Today, 5% of the parent company? What a move. Coming from a business family, he knew exactly what that meant. The number 5 might seem small, but the value it represented was extraordinary. The parent company encompassed all of Headline Today's current and future projects. That kid, he was really generous. A sense of relief washed over him. Then he remembered what his daughter had said about his wife. Given her personality, if she got stubborn, she really might do something rash. Mr.She, I'm finished. Take your time, said the city council secretary sitting across from him, noticing his preoccupied state and choosing to make a graceful exit. All right, take care, David said with a nod. He finished his meal unhurriedly, returned to his office, and closed the door. He dialed his eldest brother-in-law. The phone rang once before he hung up. At this time of day, his brother-in-law wouldn't answer personally. His secretary would pass on the message. A moment later, the phone rang back. Brother, it's about Helen. Here's what's happening. David explained the situation. A calm, deep voice came from the other end. I understand. Give the kid a heads up. If he's smart, he'll know what to do. Just make sure Helen doesn't get hurt. As night fell over Rockford, in a steakhouse at the Apex Trade Plaza, Cole speared a small piece of steak with his fork and fed it to Serena. She had said she had something important to discuss, so they had skipped the cafeteria. Cole, my mom won't do anything else, will she? Serena had told him everything about her mother's call, but had omitted the demand to go public. She was still worried. The fragments of her dream lingered. It was terrifying. She couldn't believe her mother would do something like that, but she was afraid she might be manipulated into a moment of foolishness. When people are pushed to the brink by resentment, it's easy to lose control. Don't worry. Since you told your father, he'll definitely be prepared, Cole said, figuring David Shun had a good grasp of the situation. If he didn't have that level of sensitivity, he wouldn't be able to hold his position. Just as he finished speaking, his phone rang. Cole picked it up and smiled. It's your dad. He wasn't surprised by the call at all. Some things weren't meant for public knowledge. A man in his position couldn't get involved, not unless there was proof. Serena nodded. She was also curious about what her father would say. Hello, Mr. Shun. Cole, is it a convenient time to talk? It is. I'm having dinner with Serena. Good. Recently, someone's been getting close to your Aunt Helen, saying some not-so-good things. I don't know who it is or what their motive is. David Shin said just that, and then stopped. Cole understood the unspoken message immediately and agreed without hesitation. Understood, Mr. Shun. Good. Handle it with care. Don't let your Aunt Helen get hurt. I know. Seeing Cole hang up, Serena looked at him with curiosity. What did my dad say? He told me to take good care of you and not to bully you, Cole said with a chuckle. There was no need to burden her with these things. It would only add to her stress. You're always bullying me. Serena wrinkled her nose, but she knew in her heart that her father must have given him some kind of instructions. Still, since neither of them was telling her, there was no need to ask. After dinner, they walked hand in hand through the mall. Opportunities to stroll around like this were becoming rare. As his online presence grew, more and more people would recognize him. Just a few minutes ago, someone had called out to him. One pair of bodyguards walked ahead, another pair behind. After hearing about Serena's dream, Cole had raised his guard. He didn't bring them inside the university, but anywhere else, he was now flanked by all 4. Soon it might have to be 8. All the girls would need protection. The security department would have to be expanded. Sensing Serena's mood, Cole put aside his plans for admiring her feet that night. He walked her to her dorm, where they embraced for a long time. Only after she appeared on her balcony and waved did he leave. Times had changed. Her willingness to run to him, regardless of anything else, was worth him waiting for her. Back at the parking lot near the finance department's dorms, Cole's gaze turned cold as he dialed a number. I need someone to handle something. Go to Rockford and tail a woman. I need to know who she's taking orders from. I want solid proof. Tell them my requirements are stability, precision, and speed. I want results within a week. I'll double the price. Professionals for professional work. This time, he wouldn't pay with Bitcoin. The value wasn't high enough, a waste. He'd save that for later. He'd use his offshore account to pay in US dollars. After that, he called Serena's uncle, Robert Shun. The other end picked up quickly. Mr. Shun, sorry to bother you. Not all, Cole. What can I do for you? It's like this. Serena is a core executive at Headline Today and now a shareholder. But recently, some things have come up that could be detrimental to both of us. You're in the state capital, close to Rockford, and you have extensive connections. I was hoping you could help me keep an eye on owners of heavy trucks and dump trucks in the state. If any are dispatched to Rockford, please let me know in advance. I'll owe you a favor. Don't worry, Cole. There are only so many companies with heavy transport vehicles. You can count on me. Thank you, Mr. Shun. Don't be so formal, Cole. We're family. Cole hung up and made another call, this time to Vanessa Fan. It was better to be prepared, whether it was a dream or something else. The threat was most likely to come from out of state. Locally was impossible. Their reach wasn't that long, and they wouldn't blindly follow the Shun family's influence. For something like this, his mother-in-law wouldn't have to find someone herself. If she so much as hinted at any malice, others might record half a conversation and act on it, then pin the blame on her. The Shun family would be implicated and have no way to defend themselves. The next day, Linden Creek Experimental Elementary School. Helen Shun was in the middle of a class when she saw the principal escorting a woman to her classroom door. The principal signaled for her to continue, then spoke with the woman. Helen Shun recognized her, the district school administrator. Why the sudden inspection today? A flicker of instinctive nervousness went through her. The woman was both her superior and Serena's mother, a boss and a potential in-law, a dual identity. But the nervousness quickly faded. Her son was a success. She had nothing to be afraid of. Your daughter is going to have to call me mom one day, and you'll need my permission to hold my grandchild. Her mood lightened, and she continued teaching with an air of composure. After class, as expected, she was called to the principal's office. The principal immediately left, carefully closing the door behind him. Before he left, he shot her a meaningful look, as if to say, be careful. She'd never gotten that kind of treatment before. But things were different now. Her colleagues all knew that she was no longer the old Helen Shun. She was the mother of a billionaire. The fact that she was still teaching here was a great honor for the school. They could casually mention, you know so-and-so? His mom and I are colleagues. We eat in the same cafeteria. It was a great feeling. Director Helen, hello. Helen Shun greeted her. Have a seat, Helen Shun said, her expression cool. She wasn't here to cause trouble. Her strategy was still to win her over. Either they break up, or Serena gets the official title. No matter what, this move to cut to the root of the problem was justifiable. If that boy didn't agree, then he was in the wrong. She simply couldn't accept her daughter revolving around a man with other girls. It was too degrading. What would her old classmates and friends think if they found out? How could she ever pursue a political career? Her husband had doted on her for 20 years. Did he dare get involved with other women? I came to talk about a private matter today. Please go ahead, Director. My daughter is Serena Shun. I believe you've met her, Mrs. Shun. Yes, I have. She's a wonderful girl with a great personality. I like her very much, Helen Shun said with a smile. She had already guessed what the other woman was about to say. It had to be about her son's messy affairs. I do not approve of the relationship between Cole and Serena, Helen Shun stated flatly, getting straight to the point. Mrs. Chen's composure irked her. Who asked if you liked her? Dream on, she continued. You're aware of Cole's situation, how he's involved with several girls. Oh, is that so? I hadn't heard, Helen Shun said, feigning shock, then immediate indignation. How could he? When he gets back, I'll have to have a serious talk with him. You're his mother, and also a teacher. The task of education is a heavy one. Helen Shun felt as if she'd swallowed a fly. Talk to him when he gets back? By then they'll have kids. Like mother, like son. They were exactly the same. Helen Shun nodded earnestly. You're right, Director. When it comes to education, you have the most authority. That girl, Serena, is truly wonderful. I like her from the bottom of my heart. It doesn't matter if you don't approve, she thought. Otherwise, you wouldn't have come to me. Mrs. Shun, your liking her is irrelevant. This is not going to happen. Not unless you make Cole declare his position. Helen Shun fought to contain her frustration. As a leader, she couldn't lose her temper. What position, Director? You tell me, and I'll make sure he does it. Helen Shun nodded vigorously, putting on a show of resolute execution. Have him publicly announce his relationship with my daughter. But, Director, didn't you just say this isn't going to happen? Helen Shun looked utterly confused, but she was laughing inwardly. What are you even trying to do, my dear-in-law? This is 100% impossible. If he went public with Jasmine, that would be acceptable to do right by the Yang family. But that would surely hurt the other two. Wait, no. The one who came later seemed to be in the picture too. 4? If they all had 2 kids, that would be 8 grandchildren. Oh my God. Forget it. She couldn't handle babysitting. She wouldn't have time for cards, or even to use the bathroom. Helen Shun's thoughts began to wander. Never mind what I said. You just make him do it. If he's not willing, then the two of them need to stay away from each other. Helen Shun's eye twitched with anger as she forced herself to remain patient. That boy was surely as cunning as his mother. Director, I will talk to him, don't you worry. That boy is being completely unreasonable, Helen Shun said, her face a mask of anger. Talking to him is useless. You have to make him do it. But if he doesn't do it, there's nothing I can do. The boy's all grown up, and now that he's earning so much money, he stopped listening to me a long time ago. Then what kind of mother are you, if you can't even control your own child? Helen-shun finally snapped, a wave of frustration washing over her. The moment the words were out, she thought of herself. I'm the kind of mother I am. Director, you raised your child well, and I haven't done a bad job with mine either, Helen-shun said, as steady as a mountain, neither servile nor overbearing. The confidence her son gave her was ironclad. She had originally been a little resentful of her son's philandering, but at this moment, she changed her mind. She was going to have this Shun girl as her daughter-in-law, no matter what. Her grandchild would not be denied. Fine, you're something else. The two of you, mother and son, you're both something else. Helen-shun's face darkened. The other woman wasn't taking her seriously at all. If this were an ordinary person, she could apply some pressure. But given her current status, pressure was useless. Helen-shun smiled. Director, the children are grown up now. It's their own business. As long as they're not hurting anyone, why should we, as their elders, interfere? Helen-shun said nothing, just stared fixedly at Helen-shun. And Helen-shun returned her gaze without a hint of fear. After a long moment, Helen-shun took a deep breath and said heavily, I hope you won't regret this, Mrs. Chun. Helen-shun smiled once more. I, Helen-shun, have lived my life with integrity. As a teacher, a wife, and a mother, my conscience is clear. I have never regretted a single thing in my life. That last sentence pierced Helen-shun to the core. She stood up, her face grim, and walked straight out the door. Helen-shun, however, stood up humbly to see her off. Take care, Director. Please come again. Director. Helen returned to her office, her face grim. Her colleagues wisely kept their distance. When she walked in, she saw the cleaning lady tidying up. You can stop, she said flatly. You can go. Okay, Director. The woman grabbed her rags and mop and quickly left. Helen sank in her chair, seething. She had no desire to read the paper or review any education department documents. Her mind was consumed with thoughts of her daughter. It was infuriating, so arrogant. That mother-son duo was impossible to communicate with. She picked up her phone, hesitated, and put it back down. Even if she told her husband, it probably wouldn't do any good. He'd just blame her. She clutched her chest, feeling a knot of anger she couldn't release. And she couldn't even vent properly. Give Mrs. Chun a hard time at work? Useless. The woman could just quit. Just as her anger was peaking, a woman appeared at the door. She knocked politely before entering. Director, a relative sent me some freshly picked chestnuts. Here, try some. She was holding a plastic bag filled with brown chestnuts, their spiky outer shells already removed. Helen glanced at them, not in the mood to eat. Thanks, Janice. Have a seat, she said absently, not bothering to ask why she was there. The woman, Janice, was a year or two older than her, but she had insisted Helen call her by her first name, and the habit had stuck. Janice took out 2 chestnuts and started peeling them. Let me peel a couple for you. They're crisp and sweet. She looked up, her face showing surprise and concern. Oh, Helen, you don't look well. Are you not feeling okay? You should rest if you're not well. You can't work yourself too hard. I'm fine. Just a few worries. Helen managed a weak smile. Is it about the kids again? Janice asked, carefully scraping the skin off a chestnut with her fingernail as she glanced up. Helen sighed. Isn't that what life is all about? Worrying about your children. Oh, you're telling me, Janice sighed, as if in deep sympathy. All that hard work, and the kids don't even appreciate it. My son is just like that. Yours is a boy. It's normal for them to be a bit mischievous. I wish I had a girl. Less trouble. Girls are hardly less trouble. They're a constant source of worry. I'd rather have a boy. You should be happy. Your daughter is already a top executive at a big company. Maybe she'll be the chairman's wife someday. Sigh. What's wrong now? Something like that. Cutting someone off could easily lead to an accident. That was murder. The thought alone terrified her. Janice seemed to realize this wouldn't work either. She sighed. I was just saying, I'm angry for you. If it were me, with my temper, I might really have him killed. What does it matter how much money he has? He still only has one life. Let's not talk about killing him. That's a separate issue. The worst that can happen is we burn our bridges, Helen said, shaking her head. Okay, let's not talk about it. Sigh. I just hope the bad guy has an accident of his own, Janice said, stopping the conversation and adding a curse for good measure. But a strange light flickered in her eyes. She didn't mention the children again. She peeled a few more chestnuts, made some small talk, and then left. Helen, still annoyed, didn't think much of it. She stood up and paced around her office. After much thought, she decided she had to go to Rockford herself. She would force the boy to declare his position. Either he goes public with her daughter, and if he did, she would have to accept it, or he goes public with another girl. That would be even better. Her daughter would surely be unable to bear it, and would finally give up. Downstairs, Janice hurried to her white BMW. She pulled a recording pen from her bag and looked at it, her eyes a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She didn't know what use this would be, but the other party only wanted this level of conversation. The car started, heading directly back to Rockford. In a rearview mirror, she could see a motorcycle. The rider wore a helmet. The bike was old, looking like a scooter taxi. In Linden Creek and Rockford, such scooter taxis were a common sight. But Janice despised them. The motorcycles weaving in and out of traffic made driving a car a nightmare. It was probably just a coincidence, but the motorcycle stayed behind her, sometimes close, sometimes far. When her car got stuck in traffic, it would even pull ahead. It seemed they were just heading in the same direction. This continued until they reached the highway toll booth between Linden Creek and Rockford. The motorcycle turned onto a side road, and the rider parked and went to the window to ask a question. He seemed to have been denied entry to the highway. Janice snorted. "Serves you right. Take the back roads." Once on the highway, she felt a sense of freedom. She pushed the car past 60 miles per hour, flying down the road. In less than half an hour, she reached the Rockford toll booth. After exiting, a white Kia that had been driving slowly pulled in behind her. Janice paid it no mind. She drove straight to her destination, a private kitchen. She entered the reserved room. Inside sat a man in his 30s, somewhat thin and gaunt. He had a buzz cut and an ordinary face, but his eyes were sharp as hooks. When Janice came in, he looked her up and down without a word, simply taking a drag from his cigarette. Janice's heart tightened. After sitting down, she didn't immediately take out the recording pen. She took a sip of tea, forcing herself to appear calm. "Where's the IOU?" The man took an A4 sheet of paper from his bag, placed it on the table, and slid it over. He remained silent. Janice picked it up and examined it. It was the 10 million RMB gambling debt her son had racked up in Macau. She tossed it back on the table. Though her teeth were chattering slightly, she managed a tone of anger. "This is a copy. I want the original. Give me the recording. I need to verify its authenticity and usefulness. If it's no good, you'll have to go back." The man finally spoke, his voice like a croaking duck. "What if I get it to you and you don't give me the IOU? And the video of my son and that girl? And the business contract for our factory?" Janice's eyes were wary and greedy. Just as the man was about to speak, the door to the room was suddenly pushed open. "Wang, you guys came to such a small place." A middle-aged man in his 40s with glasses poked his head in. Seeing the two of them, he froze. He stepped back and checked the room number, his face full of confusion. "Huh, didn't you say room 808? You've got the wrong room. Close the door on your way out," the gaunt man said, his eyes narrowing as he watched the newcomer. "Oh, sorry. They must have changed the room." The man with glasses apologized profusely and quickly closed the door. A few seconds later, his voice could be heard in the hallway as he called a friend to ask for directions. The gaunt man remained silent, got up, and walked to the back of the door, listening intently to the sounds outside. After a moment, the person seemed to have entered another room. The man opened the door and walked out. He happened to see a waitress. "The guy with the glasses just now, which room is he in?" he asked. 806, the waitress pointed. "Thanks." The man walked to room 806 and pushed the door open directly. Inside were two men and a woman, one of whom was the man with glasses. They all looked at him, bewildered. The man said nothing, closed the door again, and returned to his own room, finally at ease. He glared at Janice. "What we promised you, we will give you. You're not important enough for us to break our word. Hurry up. I can't wait much longer. If you keep dawdling, I won't want the recording anymore, and that girl will immediately report your son for rape. We'll also sue him for the money." Janice's face turned pale. She hesitated. Just as the man's expression grew even darker, she took out the recording pen and placed it on the table. She knew her son had been set up, but there was nothing she could do. The so-called powerful people she knew were nothing compared to these guys. They knew everything about her factory, even the number of times her husband had cheated on her. They even knew who she had slept with. Although there was no evidence, it was terrifying to hear them say it. Meanwhile, in room 806, the three had just finished ordering. The woman called the waitress back and held out $200 bills. "Go to the front desk and ask how the man in room 808 got here. If he drove, get the license plate number. Find out, and this is yours." "Okay, just a moment." She left the room. A short while later, she returned. "He drove. It's a black Chevy, parked right out front. The license plate is XXXXXX. Thank you. The woman in 806 grabbed the waitress's hand and pressed the money into her palm. This never happened. Okay, I understand, the waitress said, happily pocketing the money. She was more than happy to comply. In room 808. After listening to the recording, the gaunt man put the pen in his bag. He didn't say whether it was good or not. He took out the original IOU, placed it on the table, and said to the anxious Janice, in a while, you'll get the video and the business contract. Don't be impatient. Take the IOU for now. To them, the $10 million, $1.5 million, was just a piece of paper. Janice understood that they hadn't lost anything. Her son had said he originally borrowed $2 million, and the interest had snowballed to 10. And that $2 million principal had been lost back to the casino in less than half an hour. It was just a few hands of cards from the dealer. Thinking of her son, Janice wanted to cry. And yet, she had to pretend to comfort that woman, Helen. The man said nothing more and left. In the hallway, he passed a man on his phone. He looked familiar, as if he'd been in room 806. They brushed past each other. In the private room, Janice sat in a daze. It wasn't until the waitress came to ask for her order that she snapped out of it. She ordered the minimum charge. 10 minutes later, the gaunt man returned to his apartment complex. He parked his car on the lower level of the parking garage under his building. He went upstairs, feeling relaxed. He dialed a number. Have you found the car yet? Not yet. The transport teams here all have jobs. It's not easy to approach them. But there's a suitable person in Rockford. Rockford? That's his territory. Are you sure it's safe? It's safe. He has a grudge against him. The other party has a construction site in Rockford. I think he'll be happy to lend us a concrete truck. Good. Find the right person. He hung up and began editing the audio. He cut out the useless parts and pieced together the useful ones. It didn't matter if it was real or not. As long as he could pin the blame, someone would treat it as concrete evidence. As night fell, a car drove into the lower-level parking garage. 3 men and a woman got out. The woman held a small device and walked slowly. He's in this building. The target hasn't come down. You guys go up. I'll go to the security room. The 4 of them split into 2 teams, their expressions normal. Half an hour later. Top floor, apartment 1102. Where are you from? Why do you want this recording? Who sent you? What's the next step? The woman's face was impassive as she held another recording pen. The man's own pen had fallen into her companion's hands. I've already told you everything, the gaunt man said, his face ashen, his eyes bloodshot. Apart from those with unshakable faith, no one could withstand this kind of interrogation. He had confessed everything, even his contacts. Otherwise, the pain would have driven him mad. The woman didn't respond. She covered his face with a towel again and poured water over it. She only stopped when he began to convulse violently. Where are you from? Why do you want this recording? Who sent you? What's the next step? I'm from. The man gasped, weakly repeating his confession. But the woman, her face still a mask of indifference, asked again, Where are you from? Why do you want this recording? Who sent you? What's the next step? I am. The man had to repeat himself, his heart sinking. These people were interrogation experts, and he had made a mistake. The people in room 806 had been after him all along. Where are you from? Why do you want this recording? I am. Where are you from? Why do you want this recording? The questions and answers were repeated a full 15 times. Another man nodded, confirming the answers were consistent. The woman patted the gaunt man's head, her voice devoid of emotion. You can continue with your plan. We won't interfere. The man let out a miserable laugh. He had to continue. It was the only way to pretend nothing had happened. If he was exposed and caught, he would face a terrible fate. The 3 men and 1 woman left. They wouldn't take a life. Their job was done, and they had to email the results as soon as possible. Double the pay was waiting. In the room, the man struggled and found that the ropes had been loosened. He slid from the chair to the floor, completely exhausted. Panting, his heart was filled with despair. He hoped he could get through this. 8:00 p.m. Rockford. Cole sat in his office, quietly reading the contents of an email. He was a little shocked. If he hadn't prepared in advance, Serena's dream might have come true. The other party was really playing for keeps. It was terrifying to use such a heinous act just to create the stain of a family member condoning violence. Or perhaps it was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. He was just a secondary target. If he died, Headline Today would be thrown into chaos, and the other party could seize the opportunity to take over. Sometimes, inheritance rights are powerless. Cole pondered. Someone I have a grudge against? A construction site in Rockford? Could it be Warren Ning? The Ning family did have a construction project in Rockford. Cole immediately called David Shun. After a brief conversation, he hung up. His phone soon received an email address from David. After forwarding the email, all Cole had to do was worry about his own safety. Someone else would take care of the rest. Vanessa Fan's people had already reached out to the hundreds of fuel, sand, and concrete transport companies in the Rockford area. What Cole could mobilize were the vast numbers of freelance operators. He offered a $20,000 reward to the head of the freelancer company, the same buzzcut guy who had tried to scam his tea shop, if they caught the target. The man now had a small reputation in the freelance world, but he was still limited to low-end jobs. He had opened a bar and 6 or 7 pool halls. As for how much he paid his employees, Cole didn't care. The freelancers fanned out, keeping a close watch on the concrete transport team subcontracted by the Ning construction site. Every trade has its own network. Just a day and a half later, Sasha Gwa came in to report. There's a concrete mixer driver who's very suspicious. He's in his 30s, loves to gamble, and owes money to loan sharks. Last night, he suddenly came into money. He was throwing cash around at a nightclub and even hired 2 prostitutes. It was like he was having one last blowout. According to our surveillance, he has 2 people following him today. I suspect it's to make sure he doesn't run. So, we don't know which day he's going to make his move. That's right. You haven't given him an opportunity. Of course not. I'm not going to. This wasn't something to take risks with. If a concrete mixer unloaded its contents, his car would be instantly crushed. He would be squeezed to death inside. There would be no escape. Cole had seen this kind of death in the news in his past life. Afterward, the driver would claim the controls malfunctioned. What can anyone do? Cole wouldn't use a bodyguard as bait to lure the enemy, either. It was a certain death sentence. Even if you suddenly slammed on the gas, they would follow suit. Once the car's tail was pinned by the concrete, it wouldn't be able to move. Only those who had completely fallen into the abyss would resort to such extreme measures, perhaps out of fear of being investigated. Cole asked another question. Is it from the Ning family's construction site? Yes, Mr. Chun. Understood. After Sasha left, Cole called David Shin again and explained the situation in detail. 3 or 4 hours later, his father-in-law called back. Cole, you don't need to worry about this anymore. The situation will be contained. Understood, Mr. Shun. Cole knew that a high-level matter like this wouldn't be allowed to spread. It would be a case of killing a chicken to scare the monkeys. They wouldn't trace it back to the very top. But the few people involved were destined for a tragic end. He guessed that Warren Ning must have chosen to align himself with some powerful figure, offering this act as a token of allegiance. It was a foolish move, but from Ning's perspective, it might have seemed like a gamble worth taking, a chance to get revenge for the $20 million loss. Cole smirked. He wondered if Ning would be able to escape this. Some things you don't even have to do. Just by being involved, you can't escape the consequences. In the afternoon, Sasha came in to report again. According to her spies, a large number of police had surrounded the construction site. Cole nodded. It seemed the Shun family had made their move. Sasha had just left when a knock came at the door. Knock, knock, knock. The receptionist called from the doorway. Mr. Shun, a Mrs. Shun is here to see you. She said you would see her. Yes, let her in, Cole nodded. He was in no mood to entertain guests. A woman with the surname Shun. It could only be his demon mother-in-law. To think she even went to see his mother. How childish. A moment later, the receptionist led Helen Shin in. Director Helen, what a rare pleasure. Please have a seat. Cole beamed, rising to greet her. He smiled at the receptionist. Could you guess a cup of your best tea? Of course, Mr. Chun. The receptionist left, closing the door behind her. Helen swept her gaze over Cole and sat down on the sofa, her face cold. She was furious. This mother-son duo was exactly the same. So polite on the surface, but who knew what they were really thinking? She didn't even call her Aunt Helen. Director, you wouldn't come all this way for no reason. Are you here to offer some guidance today? Cole asked, a look of humble deference on his face. Cut the act, Chun, Helen snapped, her anger almost boiling over. I came here today to have you do one thing regarding Serena Shun. Serena? Director, I'm not sure I understand. What about Serena? Has there been some kind of misunderstanding? Cole looked stunned, as if he knew nothing. Misunderstanding? Do you find this amusing? Helen was about to explode. This kid was nothing but a scoundrel. No, Director, I really don't know what you mean. A faint smile played on Cole's lips. Serena is a senior executive at our company. You are her mother. Why would I ever pretend in front of you? He emphasized the word mother heavily. Helen's face turned ashen. She snorted. Cole Chun, I'm not going to play games with you. You either publicly announce your relationship with Serena, or you cut off all contact with her and have her resign. Or you can publicly announce your relationship with the young girl. 3 choices. Pick one. Director, I don't want to pick. I like things just the way they are. Cole was still smiling, his cards now on the table. It was impossible. Going public with any of them would be detrimental. They would never be able to live a normal life. If you don't pick. Helen clenched her jaw, her anger surging. Her chest ached with fury. So arrogant. She glared at Cole. If it weren't for this boy, she and her daughter would still be fine. Her daughter would be focused on her path to a government career. What? Are you threatening me, Director? Or are you going to hire someone to run me over with a car and kill me? Cole asked, a half-smile on his face. Even if his mother-in-law hadn't ordered it, he had to scare her. What do you mean? How could I do such a thing? I'm just asking you to be clear with Serena. Helen's heart skipped a beat. She remembered her conversation with Janice, but she had never said she wanted him dead. Director, listen to this. Does this sound like your voice? Cole opened an audio file, saved on his desktop. The voices of Helen and another woman filled the room. The other woman suggested finding someone to harass the target, but Helen's voice was the one that said, "The wicked live 1,000 years. Run him over with a car, kill him." The more Helen listened, the more her face changed. That's not what she had said. Panic set in, and she screeched. "Where did you get this? That's not what I said. What are you doing? Where do you think I got it?" Cole's smile vanished. He continued flatly. "Do you have any idea that by talking so carelessly, you could implicate the Shun family and Mr. Shun? If something were to happen to me, your husband, David Shun, could be listed as a suspect, and your two brothers would be smeared with mud. Do you know what the consequences of that would be?" "Nonsense. I didn't say that. You're making it up. Delete it." Helen screamed, losing her composure. Her mind was in chaos. The voices were indeed hers and Janice's. Deleting it won't do any good. "Director, if you're not a fool, you should know how a recording like this can get out." Cole looked at her as if she were an idiot. The look stung Helen deeply. Of course she knew. That's why it hurt so much more. To be played like a puppet without even knowing it. Cole looked at his mother-in-law with a pitying gaze. "Mr. Shin knows about this recording. Your two brothers, and even your father, they probably all know by now. Otherwise, I might already be dead, and Serena might have been in the car with me. Do you understand?" Helen's face was deathly pale, completely drained of color. Her body trembled uncontrollably. Her chest began to ache. They all knew, and she was the only one who didn't. She clung to a sliver of hope and screamed, "You're lying." "Whether I'm lying or not, Mr. Shin knows." Cole smiled. "I don't believe you. You're just trying to trick me. You tricked Serena, and now you're trying to use this to force my hand." Just as Helen finished speaking, her phone rang. It was David Shun. Thinking her husband would back her up, she answered. "David, you have to come here. I'm so angry. This Chun kid fabricated a recording of me." "Helen, you haven't been well lately. You should resign and take some time off to rest. I've already arranged it." "What? What did you say?" Helen thought she had misheard. "I said you should take a break. Don't worry about work. Go back to the capital." "David Shun, what is the meaning of this?" Helen couldn't accept it. She roared. The husband who had always doted on her, loved her, supported her, was saying such things. He had removed her from her position without her knowledge. "This is what your brothers want. It's what Dad wants. And it's what I want. Helen, call your brother." The line went dead. David Shun said no more. Helen's chest heaved. She couldn't believe it. "How dare you, David Shun?" She immediately dialed her eldest brother. On the third ring, he answered. "Brother." David said, "Helen, you should come back and rest for a while. Dad has some things he wants to say to you. Let go of the director job for now." Her brother's calm words sent her plunging into an icy abyss. If her brother was saying it, then it was true. Why? Why was this happening? What had she done wrong? Her hands and feet began to tremble. A feeling of being abandoned by the entire world washed over her, accompanied by a crushing pain in her head. Her vision went black, and she pitched forward, the phone slipping from her hand. Cole called 911. He didn't want to see his demon mother-in-law, but he had to save her. It was all for Serena. While waiting for the ambulance, he called two of his female bodyguards into the office. They helped him move Helen to the sofa. Then he sent them to the university to pick up Serena. Looking at the pale-faced woman, he sighed inwardly. He felt a sliver of pity, but he truly disliked her. A classic case of someone who didn't know how good she had it, always needing to stir up trouble. When life got too comfortable, she started chasing after empty prestige. He didn't dwell on the incident any further. The people involved wouldn't be arrested. Their fate was sealed. If he were in their shoes, he would have done the same. The CEO of Headline Today had called, so the ambulance arrived with lightning speed. Cole went with them to the hospital. That night in Rockford, Janice had dinner with a friend and returned home. As usual, she opened the door, walked in, and closed it behind her. She called out for her son. No answer. She walked into the living room and called for her husband. Still no answer. Suddenly, she froze. A stranger stood behind her, and another at the bedroom door. Before she could scream, a hand clamped over her mouth. Late at night, in a city on the coast. In the chairman's office of the Ning Corporation, 4 men stood before the desk, their faces impassive. My son and daughter know nothing about this. Let them go, Warren Ning said, forcing himself to remain calm in his executive chair. The chairman of a Fortune 500 company, yet his body was trembling. He had gone all in on one bet and lost far too quickly. The powerful backer he had just aligned with had become his executioner. He had thought about fleeing to America, but he didn't dare. His son and daughter were still here. Only his death could ensure their safety. Mr. Ning, you misunderstand. Your son and daughter have nothing to do with this. We won't involve them, a middle-aged man said languidly. He then added, Mr. Ning, it's time to go with dignity. My promise to help your son secure the chairman position will be honored. Forget it. That won't be necessary. He can't handle it, Warren Ning said, then stood up, his body trembling, his legs weak. It suddenly dawned on him why no one had come to arrest him. Logically, the police should have been at his door immediately. But they hadn't come. There was only one possibility, a tacit agreement between both sides. They were giving him time to handle it, to contain the incident to himself. If he wasn't mistaken, he would be made to take the fall for everything. He was filled with regret. He had thought he was at least somebody. But clearly, in their eyes, he was nothing. He regretted getting involved. He regretted his own arrogance. He regretted ever thinking of getting revenge on that young man. And his family couldn't help him. His brothers were probably hoping he would go quickly. His entire network had gone silent. No one responded. Mr. Ning, your time for repentance is running a bit long. Do you need some help? Someone behind him urged. Warren Ning, trembling, walked despairingly to a spot 2 meters from the floor-to-ceiling window. Images of his children and his wife flashed through his mind. His eyes turned red. He grit his teeth and charged toward the glass. The next day, at 5:00 a.m., on the southwestern border, the gaunt man, after a great ordeal, had fled overnight to this place. He had chosen to run. He knew the consequences of being exposed. He had a feeling he wouldn't get away with it, so he had made a run for it. His documents were all in order, and he passed through the checkpoint smoothly, arriving in North Vietnam. A wave of relief washed over him. As long as he could get to Thailand and then to America, he could live comfortably. Many people passed through this border crossing. The road was bustling with people. 2 Vietnamese men walked toward him. Just as they were about to pass, he felt a sharp pain in his side. The 2 men, who had looked harmless moments ago, now stared at him with vicious eyes. In broken Mandarin, one of them said, "The boss told me to tell you, thank you for your hard work. Have a safe trip." The 2 Vietnamese men stabbed him a dozen more times, then fled into the woods. The news broke the next day. Fire breaks out in high-rise apartment in Rockford. Female resident jumps to her death to escape the flames. Husband and son die from smoke inhalation after rescue efforts fail. Breaking news. Chairman of Ning Corporation plotted to murder CEO of famous internet company. After being exposed, he left a confession and committed suicide to escape justice. Cole saw these 2 headlines on the hospital TV. He was filled with a sense of gravity. There are some things you should never get involved in. This was the most important reason he had rushed to set up the offshore holding company. Next, he would have to change the legal representative. Although he had Vanessa and Spencer, he still needed a failsafe. He would never place his safety in someone else's hands. He was sure that after this incident, the Shun family would receive some kind of exchange, a spoil of war for containing the battle. In the VIP hospital room, Helen slowly woke up. The first thing she saw was her daughter sitting by her bed. "Mom, you're awake," Serena said softly, her eyes filled with a complex mix of emotions. As a daughter, of course, she didn't want anything to happen to her mother. But after learning about the mistake her mother had made, she was terrified. The dream had almost come true. How could her mother be so foolish? She was so angry at her, she could hardly bear it. Helen said nothing, just stared blankly at the ceiling. Her face was haggard. She looked as if she had aged several years in a single night. "Mom, it's all over now. You should rest for a while." "I don't need you to tell me what to do," Helen snapped. "Mom," Grandpa said, "he's sending someone to pick you up in a couple of days. You can stay there for a while. Dad is very busy lately, and so am I." Serena ignored her mother's petulance and continued speaking. Helen closed her eyes, a single tear rolling down from the corner. She still couldn't understand why her father and brothers would do this to her. And David, why were they all like this? "Mom, just live a peaceful life. That's more important than anything." "Baby, I need to have a word with your aunt," Cole appeared at the door. Okay. Serena looked at Cole, then at her mother, and stood up to leave. She knew that nothing she said would get through to her mother. It was hopeless. Aunt Helen. Cole sat down by the bed. It was the first time he had ever called her that. Helen squeezed her eyes shut, determined not to look or listen. Aunt Helen, look at this news. There was a fire in an apartment in Rockford. Cole held up his phone, showing the story on his own platform. Seeing his mother-in-law refuse to react, he added, "It was the one who was talking to you. The whole family is gone." Helen's body trembled on the bed. Cole sighed. "You're not young anymore. You're a mother, and you're my mother-in-law. I shouldn't be saying these things to you, but some things have to be said. Logically, you should know what you can and cannot say, what you can and cannot do. But you did them all. Why did that person get close to you? Why did they say those things to you? Weren't you even a little bit suspicious? This time, if we hadn't been prepared, my death would have been a small matter. But your husband and Serena would have faced a great disaster. If someone had pinned my murder on your brothers, saying you were acting on their orders, what do you think the outcome would have been? Your two brothers would have ended up in disgrace. If they were lucky, they'd be forced into early retirement. If not, they'd go to prison. Your father's reputation would be ruined, and the Shun family would collapse. If all of that had happened, it would have been because of your carelessness and your resentment." Cole's words were a direct assault, hammering the consequences into her mind.